Yeah, Joe, take a selfie. Come on. He's gonna end up pictures of himself.
I'm known for my big head selfies.
Alright, so are we rocking and roll?
Not quite. I'm gonna do the old turn her off.
Okay. But you don't do it by the little three dotty on the side thing?
That's not full.
Wow.
It's like 2
Okay, different ways to do things. Yo,
I'm the children.
I'm marking that's the one. Alright, I don't know where Mary is. I can already use that.
But that's the guy that's not
Not really, but we might have a conversation about it.
every single mother.
Made mistakes.
Can I ask you something outside while we're waiting?
Josh, can you sign in again, please?
No, you shouldn't need to sign in.
I refreshed it, and it died.
You may need rights to the YouTube.
Yeah, because I know I don't.
I can't sign in. My phone's dead.
Do you know your password?
Oh no, I have two-factor
Is that, who else has rights to the account?
Marquita, can you sign in? Yeah, my phone literally just died like 15 minutes ago.
So it's going live through mine?
Shouldn't it be through the SGA account?
No. I sent it into my own.
Josh, shouldn't it be through the SGA account?
Did you accept the invite along, Marquita?
No.
Okay. Well, I'm still on board.
Lily, do you have access to the SGA account?
No, I was trying to send you my notes, you definitely did not.
I didn't send the invite.
Okay. Something.
Okay, well, please don't make me gab on you, Lauren. Hello. Not you guys, it's us. Okay, I'm here. So, I don't want to hold them up any further. Hi. It's Monday. And it's Saturday too. So we have a fun agenda today. Does anybody have any issues with the agenda? We added, what's up? That's a good catch. No, we've done that. What are dates in April?
They all just kind of blend together.
They really do. Okay, but does anybody have any issues with the agenda items after I've added conversation with Cameron? Is it walk up for the Untitled representative? So we'll be talking to him. David will help us lead that conversation. Are we good? Did everybody look at the minutes? Yes. Oh, good job, Nikki. Alright, so we're going to look at minutes from April 16th, and then so we have a presentation from, can I find the Okamoka team? Okamoka team, and Joe's here too. He's just sitting across.
Joe's part of the Arbutus.
Yes.
Core member.
Did you not accept the?
Joe will introduce himself a little later, I assume.
Yeah. Okay. Dang, I can't.
Other than that, let's try not to be on our devices other than the secretary taking minutes. Try not to be in and out of the room too much. Should I be here? And with that, we'll just do that.
I would describe Okamoka as Okamoka to me.
Okamoka
Okamoka to me is
Okamoka is exactly what UMBC means.
the first step to UMBC being accomplished. Connections.
Hope.
Hope. Everything.
And opportunity.
Change. Progress. Something that brings unity. Unity to both the community and to anybody that goes there. The start of something good. For me, Okamoka is a way to unify the students with Arbutus and campus building communities. Bridging the gap between UMBC and communities around us, they fit all of them.
We've been here for more than 50 years, yet we haven't taken full advantage of all the opportunities that surround this campus and opportunities we can provide the communities that surround us. So that's what Okamoka is going to do. It's going to be our minimum viable product, our first step into making that happen.
I'm excited to see how UMBC will change as a school and how more students will come.
I think that it's an amazing facilitator. It's expanding the campus. One thing that students coming into UBC that they're always complaining about is that it's too small. It doesn't have enough things for them to get involved in, but they're not taking the action for that. Okamoka is that first step that we're finally taking in answering those complaints. So I think more students should actually take initiatives like this. I really support this cause.
Okay, so I forgot. Can we do introductions before we start the presentation? Oh, you're great. So we're just gonna go around, say your position for those of you if you guys have one. If you guys have specific positions too within your team, I'm not sure. But I'll start off with myself. Hi, I'm Lily. I'm the Speaker of the Senate.
My name is Mary Bolitova. I'm the senator.
Hi, I'm Markia. I'm the Executive Vice President and the Chief of Finance.
Hi, I'm Brandon. I'm a senator and I'm
I'm Miles. I'm a senator.
Oh, I'm Krishna. I'm a senior.
Yeah, I'm Michael. I'm also a senior.
I'm Madison, also senior.
I'm Satha. I'm a freshman.
I'm Trevor. I'm a freshman.
Keith, I'm a senior. My name is Josh Massey. I'm the president of the SGA. I use EM programs.
Justin, I'm a sophomore. I'm a senator, and EM programs.
David, Assistant Director of Campus Life. I'm Jordan, I'm a Senator, EM programs.
Hey, I'm Roberto. I'm senator, Leland programs.
Joe Reed, and I'm the Executive Director for UBC Training Center and the School of the Town.
Thank you.
All right. So before we begin, I just want to tell you guys a little bit about Okamoka itself. So OKA stands for Office of Community Affairs, and MOCA MOCA stands for our coffee shop. And so in this presentation, what we're going to do is we're going to talk about how we thought of the idea in our first class, Entrepreneurship 340, and then how we continued it in Give Mason's FYS 102 class, and then our progress this semester, as well as what we plan for the future. So like Maddie and Mike have talked about our first class.
Hi, I'm Madison. So to start us off, like we said, we're going to talk about where we all started with this. So originally, the seniors in the group were all in the same entrepreneurship class, where it was social entrepreneurship. What is it? What's the title?
It's creative problem solving and social entrepreneurship.
So essentially our project was a challenge. So our challenge was how can we make a better relationship between UMBC and the communities around us. Specifically, we focused on Arbutus and Catonsville. And furthermore, I think Arbutus now that we focus on that. But so officially, or to approach the problem, we broke up into 3 groups to look at three main different perspectives. So the students are highly involved, university, and then community. So we broke up into 3 groups to kind of take that perspective on what those groups would need and how we could build a better relationship. Overall, we finally made the decision that Okamoka would be the best option that would really support all 3 of them equally, and really give them all a voice and all a place that they can interact. So that's that. And then I'll hand it off to Michael to talk more about that.
Okay. So hi, I'm Michael. What our final outcome was from that class was a coffee shop mixed with an Office of Community Affairs. So if you look in the front here, this would be the coffee shop area, and then in the back, OKA would be a big office, and then we would offer 2 smaller community rooms for meetings and smaller events, but nothing too big. And that was our original idea. And then we also teamed up with Joe to work on creating a new updated route for faster transportation straight to East Drive. That would be on a continuous loop and improving the bike share program as well. And so at the end of the semester, we actually got to present in front of Dr. Browski and a few other members of the community and UMBC as well. And they accepted this proposal with the idea that we would continue developing it. And so the next semester after that, we introduced the idea to the FYS class that Trevor will talk about.
And that moves us to a fall of 2017, where Christian, Deep, Saf, and myself took FYS 1 and 2, Innovation, Creativity, and Design, I think. And so in that class, the same professor had us, everyone in the class came up with an idea for a business. Now, most people came up with like a product that we would manufacture and sell. And then Christian and Dee proposed that we did Okamoka. And the class voted on it, and we eventually decided to do that. So then the whole class broke up into 4 groups, and we'd all work on different aspects of the business. There was product development, the marketing team, the legal team, and business team, yeah. And then we move from there. So that's what we do.
All right, so as Trevor mentioned, we chose Okamoka because we love the idea of it being the legacy, and it's our minimal viable product in that this isn't our end goal. Our end goal is to create a college town and create a unified community. So in accomplishing our end goal, we went through a series of recommendations that we go through within this class, such as the design and layout. We updated the design from the 340 class. And in that, we still have the Mocha portion at the front of the shop, and we have the Oka portion at the back. We have some new additions, such as glass doors, track lighting, glass and art, and things of that nature. After focusing on the design portion, we also have the multi-purpose space. And this multi-purpose space is really important because we have student overflow from UBC, and then we have community members as well. And they interact in this space, and you can hold events there, you can hold tutoring sessions and things of that sort. In addition to the design and layout, we agreed upon some providers, such as Ceremony Coffee Roasters. For those of you who don't know Ceremony is a coffee roastery up in Annapolis. There's one in Baltimore as well. So we're also choosing a local branch to provide us with the coffee for the Mocha portion of the shop. We'll also have student and local employments, and that will mainly be focused on the Mocha portion, as far as like baristas and things of that nature. And one of the most important things that Michael also mentioned was the incorporation of a UBC transit system. So this transit system will be a bus route around like 15 minutes. We'll have 2 buses running throughout. We want to have it incorporating community members and students, so that way we strengthen the bond between the neighboring relations and we create a more unified community, which is what our ultimate goal is. And now I will hand it off to Dee to talk about our progress this semester as an internship.
Cool. And so what you see here is our most up-to-date version of our layout for Okamoka. Over here you see our open space that people can reserve for their different various events and anything. And in the front we have the coffee shop. Now the interesting thing is, over here these walls and this wall right here will function as garage doors. So therefore when there's no event going on, the garage doors will be up and people are free to go into the room whenever they please. And that way people can see directly through the building and see all the different space that they have. And then when there is a meeting for privacy purposes, we can close garage doors and people can have their events. And so for this semester, we got a lot of work done. One, we officially got the lease signed for the building, and then we finalized our business plan. We finally got our domain for our website, which would be okamoka.com. Right? Our social media platforms, we're finalizing that, as well as getting them running for everyone to follow and get more updates on Okamoka itself. And most importantly, we started forming a lot more partnerships with student orgs and organizations in the communities. A few of those are, we formed partnerships with fraternities, with the athletics department, with SCB. We're trying to form a partnership with SGA, and various art groups. We've reached out to Tom Moore and Jen Dress to help reach out to more organizations. So Tom Moore is helping us reach out to different music and arts groups, and this will help us for our Arbutus Arts Festival. Now, the Arbutus Arts Festival is a festival that happens once a year, and it has about 40,000 people come, and it's right like 5 minutes away from UMBC, and UMBC has never actually there's never been any UMBC representation in this festival. And this year, we're planning on having our very first time going to this festival and showcasing UMBC. And the way we'll be showcasing it is in Okamoka. And so we'd like various groups and organizations to come out and basically show the different community members what we have available at UMBC. For example, for the different arts organizations that we're trying to reach out to, we want them to perform, show a little performance for the community members. Hopefully they get some photos as well. So different things like that. And so the biggest thing here was just we're trying to reach out, make more partnerships and get the word out for Okamoka. And one thing I want to leave off for this semester is that the Arbutus Arts Guild has basically put in an application for Arbutus, the town of Arbutus and UMBC to become an arts district. This means that whenever we have any events at Okamoka or any music performances, that we won't need any music permits. Because as of right now, any of the organizations or buildings that want to have any arts performances, such as the Fish Cantina place, they require music permits every time they have any performances. And by having the arts district, we wouldn't need to have those. So now I'd like to pass it on to Krishna to talk more about the future.
So I want to talk a little bit, tie into what Deep was talking about, the Arts Festival. So the Arts Festival does happen on East Drive, and this space, just to give you guys a little bit of context, is 5410 East Drive, so it's like right where the festival is happening. So what we've done is we've booked the space right outside of Okamoka, but instead of putting a tent up, we're having just an open space so people are forced to come inside this space, and that's where all the performances and things would be happening. All of this is not going to be up by then, but it's just going to be an open space and it's going to be safe for people to be inside. So where are we right now? What we're really looking for is SGA support, because it's very important for us to get the word out to students, right? Our projected opening date is September. And so we propose that this is something that the new freshman class will look at and be like, wow, there really is a space off campus for me to be involved in, something that's never happened before. We, as UMBC, we're in this little circle. Nobody really branches out to our neighboring communities, and this is the first time that we're doing that. So that's what we really need SGA support for, is getting the ball rolling over the summer and really getting students aware of what we have to offer. And we do actually have social media platforms up and running. We're trying to create a following base before we start putting up content. But that's our UMBC group, Okamoka, and then Okamoka Maryland or MD, is our Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook. And then okamoka.com, we have bought the domain. We are working on getting the website up as well. So that's another thing that we would also want SGA support and help in, is to get these things out there so that students can follow it and students can be aware of what's going on. Just the last thing is, can you go back real quick? So this open space that we talked about and the events and meetings that can be held there, another thing that we propose is that the SGA once in a while hold their meetings down there as well. Because we have partnered with Joe, and obviously the bus route that Joe has put together would get students down there, and you would only have to be waiting for a bus for 15 minutes. It goes straight there and then comes back, loops the UMBC circle as well. So transportation would be provided, and another portion of that is just that we propose opening it up to the community members as well, so that community members at some hours could also ride the transit bus. And with that, I just want to end with saying that the original challenge that we were given was to make UMBC more like a college town, to make Catonsville and Arbutus like a college town. And this in no way, shape, or form is going to solve that completely. But we believe that this is the first step in making that happen, is getting students out into the community and making community members more comfortable coming onto our campus and attending our events as well. So we would really love all of your support. And again, thank you guys so much for the financial support that you have already given us, because most of our money for this is coming from SGA. But now we are asking for a little bit more of that behind the scenes support and getting the ball rolling type thing as well.
So now we are open to any and all questions, however many questions you guys have, we are more than happy to answer.
Yes. Anything to add?
I can embellish a little bit maybe on the opportunities that are going to be granted this district with the arts and entertainment designation. So that incorporates Arbutus, UMBC as an anchor, and Catonsville. So this is kind of a unique piece. It's very important for local economies to gain access to something like that. It reduces the tax burden. It makes available such things as potential communities for artists, lower income residences for artists. Talks about, it would then speak to the opportunity to promote to these communities arts that already exist. So think about a different look to the audience at a POM event, where you now have maybe some grade school children with their parents attending a play, our great orchestra now being heard by the local community and things like that. And us providing an opportunity for some of the local artists to show their wares in Oklahoma, opening it up so that we're creating this some synergies between the different communities. Arbutus has an interesting history in terms of it has the oldest arts festival in Maryland, and we talked about the participation. It's huge. And just showing up early is a challenge that we want to do on May 20th. We already have some of the events or some of the booths that appeared at Mania on our student stage. And some more of that, I think that's just the start of it. It was a very impressive talent lineup. So not only are we going to represent, we're going to represent well at our first opening on May 20th. Again, the building is just somewhat of a shell right now. And we're now engaged, at least I'm now engaged as a university's representative with the landowner to begin the hiring for the architects, engineers, and the rest of the subcontractors. So all of that, there's a lot of work behind the scenes. The first time a university has done this, so we actually had to go to Annapolis, and the Attorney General's office had to approve the synergy between the community and the campus. So it's pretty exciting, maybe one of the first that gets replicated elsewhere in the state. So think of it in terms of a community center that services both communities. Think of it as the first step toward more discovery of what could be in Arbutus and what could happen with our connection with Catonsville. A lot of businesses on Catonsville and Fredericksburg, a handful on East Drive. So the intent is not to ignore one over the other, but the synergy is already existing between those two. I'm now a board member for Arbutus, and Sue Plitt from our Career Center is a member of the chamber representing Catonsville. So she and I meet. We meet with the presidents of those chambers, and it has garnered great support based on all the classes that have worked on this. So students are fundamentally at the start of this. It's not something that administration is doing. Administration is looking for part of my responsibilities to be involved in it, that this is very much a student group. And SGA, how it can show up is probably a phenomenal piece of this. The SGA, I think, should put the thinking caps on and say, how are we going to show up? There's all kinds of cool things that can happen, I think.
Alright, so I know this is new for some of you. Some of you have never seen or heard of Okomoka before. So what questions do you guys have?
So I'm hearing a lot of support from the student side and from the Arbutus community about having the Arbutus Arts Guild have this space for the general area of the Arts District. I was wondering if you could explain more about the partnerships in the Arbutus community from their side, if that makes sense.
I think the biggest one to mention is probably that we've been partnered with GABA, which is the Greater Arbutus Business Association, from the very beginning. So the president of GABA, her name is Bettina Thibault, and she's been involved. So our first class last spring that Maddie and Michael talked about, her, Joe, and Lisa auction were actually the 3 individuals who came into our class to tell us, hey, we have a challenge for you, make UMBC more of a college town, fix this relationship, or, you know. So she's been involved in it from the very beginning, and her take on this is really that it's been a long time coming because we've been here for such a long time, and that we, as well as the community, have now taken advantage of all of the opportunities that the university can provide the community, as well as the community provide the university. So that's one really solid relationship that we have. We have a few here and there, like with Sorrento's, which is the pizza store. We have the bakery, because that was initially one of our concerns, making a coffee shop really close to a bakery, was we hope that we aren't causing any kind of friction or trouble with that. So the first class did go and talk to the bakery, and we asked, like, hey, you know, would you be okay with this? And they were like, yes, of course, because they shut down at 4 or 5 p.m., and that's probably when most students would go over, and they throw away their baked goods every day. So they said, we'll even give you our baked goods, and you guys can sell those, and so we won't have to throw all that away and waste it. So that's another partnership that we've created with that. And I want to say, so there was a networking event in the fall at a fire station that Beep and I and Nahom, who can't be here because he has class, we went down to that networking event, and it was all of the Arbutus businesses were like seated around like the fire station, kind of with like poster boards up about what their business does, like selling things, giving business cards, and we walked around and talked to each person about the thing, and we have all their business cards, and they're part of our email list and stuff. So we try to keep in touch in that way, keep them updated on what's going on.
And luckily, since it's like a smaller community, we've really like been able to just like talk to other people. Like, there's an Arbutus Beautification Day, and a couple of us went down to that as well, and just were able to just talk to people, tell us what we're about. So a lot of people actually heard about it. Luckily, just through word of mouth, like either through each other or just like from us going down there. For our first presentation, we actually tried to get food from local places. So like we had just like gone up and down the street, looking, like talking to different people. They were willing to give us like snacks for that. So there are just like a lot of touch points that we've made, whether it's like a big relationship like GABA, or just like at least they have heard our name before.
And we try to keep that going as much as we possibly can, even through like this building process. Like I know that the architect and the mechanical engineer and all that stuff that Joe is using right now is all from local talent. We are trying to keep everything like either from Catonsville, Arbutus, or Baltimore, and we're not trying to reach out anywhere else because we want to make this a community hub from the very beginning.
And that's something that actually GABA reached out to us specifically to make a comment about, because they noticed that when they're making the new event center, there's not really much of a connection to any local resources that could have been used, and they brought that to our attention, so we can also just keep that in mind for us going forward.
You mentioned how SGA should like put on our thinking caps and like find out ways to like represent at this festival, but like, do you guys have any ideas like off the bat on like how we could, you know, be a
SGA could be involved at the Arbutus Arts Festival?
Yeah, so in our building itself, like we're trying to section off different parts of the building to different organizations. So SGA doesn't hold any events, do you guys? Like that's mostly SEB.
Just events.
Yeah, so I mean, what SGA specifically, you could just like, I don't know, like have like a little booth saying like the different things that you guys do for UMBC, or the different things that are available for the like different things that are available to the community members for like. Aren't there some things that community members could come to even though they're not like students at UMBC, like small things like here and there, just to encourage the community to come on campus, and maybe even students to encourage them to get off of campus and, you know, come to their local like, businesses, things like that.
I just think it would be powerful. We all believe it would be powerful for the community to see the face of the student government that has backed this project financially, so that they see that there's a face to this this student government idea that they've been hearing so much about. So I think just like the more students there, the better it is for them to you know, meet us as students, because maybe an important point to bring up is that this space used to actually be a hookah lounge, and the community members hated it, and there was a lot of underage drinking that would go on, and so they had a very negative idea of the students and everybody who would go there. So we're trying to really flip that image, and so every time we talk about the fact that this is going to take place of that hookah lounge that went out of business, they are just ecstatic, because they're like, we hate that place. Thank God it's going to be a quiet little coffee shop. So we really want to flip this image of college students that the community members had. And I think that we've done a really good job of doing it this past year. Since last April, Beautification Day was last April, we try to go and be as involved as possible. And we see that we're nice kids.
It doesn't have to be like a big thing, like just like the small group of us, just like talking to people has already made a big impact. So if they can just like see that like anyone is just there to represent is going to be a big deal. But also going past the Arbutus Arts Festival is going to be like the main relationship we're trying to build. I mean, you guys just have like a lot of resources, you know a lot of people, you guys are all, involved in like, or willing to like push the community or like, the relationship further between everyone, just the students and also the community. So we know that you guys are going to be like the main people to go to for that.
And especially since this arts festival, over 40,000 visitors just come for it. And from our knowledge, UBC hasn't been taken part of the arts festival much before. So by us representing the university and representing the students, it'd be a really good way to get in touch with different community members and organizations.
All right, what other questions do you have?
I have one. It's Joe. With the transit system opening, like kind of being like a community / student system, yeah. Is it all the bus routes, or is it just like one bus route that's?
I think what we're going to end up with, and it'll be based on request.
Okay.
Frankly, I believe once we've established the desire for the arts, it may, the way I kind of see it working is once we've got a contingent in Arbutus who understands that there's benefit to coming onto campus for the arts, we will supplement that with free ticket right now. We'll start slow. All you have to do is present your ticket to the event, and you'll be able to board.
Okay.
Beyond that, once we start talking about this larger arts and entertainment district piece, I'm hoping to look for actually financial support. Once it's opened up, we can start to apply for grants. And grants can help support those nights when it's open or those parts of the day.
All right.
College Park, we do have some examples at College Park where they're able to support some of their routes from income coming from off campus. And so that already exists. That's not new territory to break. And thinking about Okamoka, that might be the place that lets you get your bus pass for this or that.
Right.
Another destination, another connection. While you're there, you start to see the list of SEB events that might be open to you too. You see the arts calendar of events. And we flood the place with some marketing, quite frankly. And we flood it with their marketing too, for their high school sports teams. It's a really active community that supports their kids. There's lots of volunteers in here. I think I can go both directions. And we are going to make use of some of our expertise from the Shire Center. I expect we're going to see tutoring going on there. We're going to see some volunteerism that has to do with the ecology. You already mentioned that. And quite frankly, I'm just itching for the day that I see grandpa walking up here with a bunch of little kids, and they're going over to the pool. The pool exists. Have you seen a grandpa with kids in that pool? Well, maybe me. Okay. So I think there's a lot of blessings that are going to come as a result of just being there. Quite frankly, in the beginning. I just quit talking.
Question on that. So earlier when we talked about the grants coming from external source, so applying for funding outside of the university would supplement outside community riders on transit buses. Okay, so it would be funded from the student dollars.
I don't think we're going to be in a place where we're actually having to subsidize.
I don't think we'd be okay with that.
No, because the transit fee, parking transportation fee, is directly out of the pocket of the students.
Right.
So in terms of a principal piece of business, we want equity, that we have to be protective of that.
And I think originally during the first class when we were doing our presentation, we talked about, of course, like we needed money, and so we had a specific person focusing on grants, and for the transportation, actually making it available to the public made it more available to do more grants. Actually, like, they support a lot of that, like community relation. So instead of just adding it for ourselves, like potentially adding a fee for the students, it actually like we want to help the community, of course, get connected, but at the same time, it really does open up a lot of doors for grants.
We've got a lot of friends in government who would love to help us out running those kind of things. Howard County just got four brand new buses, electric buses, to run their route. And those people are itching to help because they're again blessed by being who they are. And UMBC is quite frankly got such a name right now. I think we show up differently.
All right, what other questions do you have? I don't want to do that one.
Is this building a UMBC? Is this like a UMBC building, or is it an Office of Community Affairs?
A couple of years to get to this point. This is a privately owned facility, okay, which the university is leasing. Okay. Now the property owner, I'm going to be the agent for the property owner to get the work done. So this is like the first time this has happened, right? So, and again, the property owner has been very benevolent. He's pretty much held this property for a whole year while we work through all of this with the state government. So he's a partner in the family. Yeah. And his discounted rent is better than others. So, but it means we might do the same thing elsewhere. Right. When that street's flooded with students, and it hits the news, and we all start hearing about what comes next? Gainesville? Probably.
So I guess this is like a weird random question. So I was about Atwater's weekend. I was thinking about, yeah, I love Atwater's weekend. So I was thinking about like decoration at Okamoka, and have you guys seen how like they'll like bring pieces in, you can buy them, but they also serve as decoration at the same time. So like,
in terms of art?
So like yeah, so there's pieces on the wall that like technically decorate the place, but next to it is like who did it, when it was done, like how much it would be if you wanted to purchase it. And I was just wondering like if that would be feasible to do both with the UBC community, but also the community outside of it as well, like bringing in art pieces that people could eventually purchase if they were interested in that, of course.
That's interesting because we've always talked about like bringing in from like community and students, but we never actually talked about selling.
So South Africa has a connection with, I always forget her name. What was the artist? Herminda Jacobs, who's like the art director here.
Right, so what we want to ultimately have is have students' art be like seasonally like displayed within the Okamoka shop, but then we also want community art to also be displayed, so it's a combination of art. And then by displaying student art, we'd also be able to showcase like the diversity of talent that the university has to show. And then by combining that with local artists, we'd also be supporting our local agencies around. we haven't discussed selling art yet, we would have to get like, permission and copyright.
Right, yeah.
So that would be like another legal
If
issue.
you look at this though, this here at the bottom,
Sure.
in between right here,
Yeah.
this is going to be a huge art wall.
Okay.
That's like the main point of that wall is going to be a gallery, and then the hallway is going to be lined with glass windows that you can see through the coffee shop into it.
I think I can show you a couple of things if you want to. I don't know if I can pull them up. Think I can?
Try.
Just when you
We
look
can
into
take some more
that.
questions while you do that.
Right.
Yeah. Looking at this one more time, I was wondering if you factored in accessibility in your building plan. I don't see any stairs, but
Yeah, if you actually look, there's like drawings of people in
Right.
wheelchairs here. That's to show that it is a wheelchair accessible building. It's all one level. Everything's going to be wide enough to fit wheelchairs in it, and there's no steps outside either. So, yeah.
Originally, we did want to make it 2 floors, I think, but when we went inside, we really liked the feel of the high ceiling, so we decided on 1 floor.
Plus all the way to
Arbutus? 2 questions. One,
Can't find it.
You're good.
Where are we at? I placed it in the drive.
Okay, yeah. Sorry.
yeah, so there was mention of, I think from what I've heard in certain conversations, an official opening date as well as soft opening date.
Yes. So the first soft opening is the Arbutus Arts Festival, and so by then we'll have the floors down and probably like a little construction on the walls.
That's May 20th.
And that's May 20th. So that's the first soft opening. And then we're planning on having a couple soft openings over the summer, but we haven't worked out the full details of those, so we don't have dates yet. But yeah, they'll most likely be later summer. And then the main opening is going to align with Welcome Week. And before the main opening, we're hoping to get Okamoka as a stop, like in the orientation tour, you know, for freshman students. So, like, we want it to be a part of the UMBC events while we have the space, kind of exclusively.
This shows a rendering of the front, and it looks rather narrow. That's kind of just a visual effect of that perspective. Gives you an idea of the gentleman to the left is in the area where you're making coffee. There's hopefully going to be a transparent window into the larger room. Now this is looking through the glass windows over to that large wall that was pointed out. Then we hope to have kind of stuff that happens in there typical to the ballroom. You know, flip tables and chairs and some multi-purpose space. Something that's exciting, I think, for East Drive would be next door to the front of the building is the bank is making available part of their parking lot so there can be some outdoor seating, which means that, you know, there'll be a presence to everybody driving by too, that they can see what's going on.
Just currently, where are you construction-wise?
I am actually now, I now have the authority to hire. That's where I'm at. So the demolition group that we hired, again, sort of acted as his agent to begin with, I was available to come in and do some more of the final cleanup work so that we're ready for the 20th. So I get to hire the architectural engineer who's done some similar work in Baltimore, plumbing, mechanical engineering, and electrical engineering. Those three will produce drawings and get our permits. Hopefully start with some pretty rudimentary things like drywall and plumbing. Pretty soon here in May. So what's great about being at this point is it took a while to get to the point that we can actually do something, you know. So the red tape has now been cut, and I and the landlord have the ability to proceed.
And we do have some materials, Joe can talk more about, but from various places.
Oh, yeah.
So we're not completely starting from scratch. We do have some refurbished things. Like we're trying to mainly focus on not buying new, but bringing them in from other places. What's the word?
Repurposing. So
repurposing and upcycling. Yeah.
We got the remember the coffee shop in the library? We got all that. So we got counters and machines.
Yeah, and we're going to come together with a makerspace, a local makerspace, to actually make our tables, because we have a big donation of different kinds of wood and stuff. So that's kind of a fun project that we're all looking forward to, so that we can have like a something that we've made and put together by students, and hopefully we're able to use that table to maybe be a platform to tell our story too.
Yeah, I hope that SGA makes a few tables, and that'll be in May.
It's open to all, maybe not all, students. Yeah. Yes.
Okay.
So we want the students to get their signature on the place to begin with. And repurposing, I've got about, I don't know how many feet worth of boards that we're going to ask the art department with some student help to do some creative things with some of the repurposed wood for the interior. We've got donated booths, almost donated. Fantastic. Almost donated.
Booths, not booths. No booths.
It's going to be a after night.
After hours.
After hours, agenda.
So again, going green is just part of this. It'll have all the LED lighting. It'll be energy efficient. We'll have to meet the energy codes.
Right.
So, and you mentioned ADA. It will be an ADA compliant facility.
Okay, Mary, you had a question? Oh yeah. You mentioned outreach in terms of freshmen. So how do you propose to do that?
So freshmen coming in, is that what you're saying? So we, like I was saying before, we'd like to have it as a part of the orientation process. So bring freshmen to the space and show them, as well as parents during that orientation. I think they already do that with Hollywood Theater, right?
Yeah, we do a tour.
Yeah, so just include Okamoka in the tour would be the main thing, and then also including it in the script for all UMBC tours, including it in the script for, I'm blanking on what is the term for people who, yeah, OPAs, yeah, for, so having them talk about it with all of their freshmen, having RAs maybe host events there, different things like that. Yeah, and then for transfer, that I didn't even consider that. Yeah, transfer orientation as well.
They're also considering trying to get different, you get handed out free things at career fairs and all those things. I know a lot of freshmen want to get those phone key holders and stuff like that, pop sockets. So also doing that for the Arbutus Arts Festival, and then potentially seeing if we can just hand those out to freshmen, just so you know.
Yeah, I got my pop socket on freshman orientation, so.
So those kind of little things we're gonna add on.
Okay, Markia?
Thanks. Have you thought about, or is there a possibility to have an all-gender restroom? And
we were just talking
about that. We were actually just talking about that. Yes, we've thought about it, and I think Joe can speak more on the construction aspect, because it deals with the plumbing as well.
Yeah, so presently what we're going to do is we're going to ask the county for their best practices rulings right now. Definitely this campus is there. So it's not, if we were to do that, it's nothing new. Right now we're struggling with the rudimentary part. How many fixtures have to be here to support the different uses, which has to do with the county code. But a mixed use, to me, it makes total sense that we would have at least one facility in the situation that is that. We did that during the Commons. I don't know, 10 years ago. So it's not anything that we would shy away from proposing.
Right. Another thing that we didn't mention that we should have, I'm sorry, is right here. If you look in your thing, in the top left corner, those booths are move outable, and then there's a portable stage. Portable. there'd be a portable stage that we propose would be open mic nights and things like that. So we do have the means to roll out the booths and roll in a stage.
I have 2 questions. I don't know if I just missed it, but this little L part that wasn't part of the original plan, can you explain what that was?
So that was not part of the original plan, but recently Joe's been leading this effort. We're actually going to have a mini makerspace back there with tools for students and community members to have access to.
So thinking bicycle shop.
Okay.
And pair that up with the wheelchair. So there is a movement to provide some services for wheelchair basketball. One of the issues with that is maintenance. So and we wanted some on-campus bicycle maintenance places, and it just isn't available. Keep looking, and it just keeps moving on down the line. And since this destination is going to be by bicycle also, we say we can use part of the storage space. Right now, this is multi-use back in here. But it could become our first makerspace. If you look in the long-range plan, you'll find makerspace in the university's plan. And that, again, is 5 years away. So, maybe we can get there a lot sooner and incorporate some sort of a bicycle rental program that a lot of campuses are just going crazy on.
Like a bike share.
Bike share.
Do you have another question?
Yeah. So, are you also making accommodations for people that, like a bike rack for people that use their bikes?
Outside, yeah.
Actually trying to make a cool artsy.
The theater down the street says that they will provide more.
Okay.
We'll provide some outside and some in the front and rear. We're looking at the parking lot potentially down the street to be able to help us out also with that. We got to fight with the county on that. Actually, the revenue department, but we're hoping to take on more ownership where we could kind of scissor some stuff out.
We actually have been looking into a really cute design for a bike rack. You guys can go ahead and ask. We're going to pull it up.
Hold on, I'm going to go bring in Josh right
now. Speaking of the makerspace, you said you wanted some student organization. So how do you plan on I guess choosing or orchestrating that? If that makes any sense.
Well, choosing wise is just who's involved and which really wants to jump in because we're still at a point where we're reaching out, just seeing. Because we don't have an exact ask for everyone. We're also just saying what they would need. We're trying to also meet all of their needs rather than trying to ask what they can do for us. So that's kind of the way that we're approaching things right now. And then you saying specific for the makerspace or just in general?
Not for the makerspace, but the student I guess artwork I don't know. I thought she brought up.
They've been talking to specific heads of different arts departments. So we're trying to see what their schedule is how they really go about displaying their students' artwork or maybe if they have shows. So we're kind of digging deeper into that right now to understand really how we can cycle that in. So it's definitely a process.
And then as far as what clubs and organizations can use the space, we're going to have a scheduling system. So it all depends on a first come, first served basis. And it will have a small fee depending on how much it's used and how busy it gets. For renting out space.
Well, okay, so the whole idea behind that was when we presented it to the professional staff senate, they were just it would be more beneficial to you to charge us because they get charged $300 to hold their meetings, and so they were are you sure you want to give it to us for free? So we were huh. We were all right, we can charge the staff if they really want to be charged. So, yeah.
They really want to be charged.
Yeah, and here's the bike rack thing we've been looking at. It's just it's a cute little coffee cup, But, we don't know exactly how feasible it would be, but it would be cute.
Yeah, it seems there's opportunities for us to get connected.
Oh, sorry. Just only showing that here, you guys.
Some of the projects that are almost doable by students, we're gonna try to involve them in as much as possible. With that makerspace, just open it up. Hey, here's a project. Who would want to be involved? Kind of thing. Make something for them.
make the second round of tables after we destroy the first round.
For the bike repair stuff, are we looking to partner with the local vendor?
Yes, that gentleman was open to it last year. He's since, I think he physically has moved, but his bike shop is still in the same place.
Okay.
There's 2 other bike shops that we might not want to ignore. Arbutus City also. So I think what we're going to try to do is, again, have that outreach and sense about that. You know, they're already in business. They're competing already.
Yeah.
So all we have to do is be a friend to both of them, and we'll get help, tools and so forth. I think we're going to be fine.
I'm good looking forward.
Yes. So with your Okamoka team, how you're like a mixture of freshmen and seniors, I'm wondering if there's going to be a permanent sort of like group. Like a
so there already is a neighborhood relations group. I don't think there's any students on that, right? But so what our proposal is to change that to be the sort of like community steering group and have them, you know, work in Okamoka or meet in Okamoka, and we could include students into that group. We could invite like specific students to join that group, but that is going to be the most permanent structure.
That's Oka,
yeah,
pretty much.
That's the one that I just saw.
Yes. And also, the reason why there are freshmen in the group is because all of us were juniors last year. And so we were like, we need to like mentor somebody else to take it on when we're gone. So I'm sure Saba, the other guy, Nahom, he's also a freshman, and Trevor, they'll also mentor people to take their spot once they're gone.
Yeah. So like the whole point is like to leave a legacy. So as we graduate, we pass on the torch. We pass the torch on like the next new freshman, and it just pass it on.
And like the idea for running like the coffee shop and everything, we were inspired by the different groups that what was it called, like the bookstore and how they run.
Oh.
So where everyone there's like called on the bookstore or not bookstore Baltimore how they run.
Co-op?
Yeah.
You're talking about Red Emma's.
Yes, there. But we were inspired by like that idea of like having a co-op where everyone kind of has to say what goes in the business. So essentially, all the money from the Mocha portion is going to go into supporting Oka. So it's not like there's any owner of this business per se. So we're always going to have the steering group, and then of course like whoever's working there, we also want them to definitely have to say what's going on, because you always just like want everyone who's involved in Okamoka to have an impact on it, so nobody feels like they're not taking advantage of like what we have to offer.
So that actually leads me into kind of like a conversation that I would have already. So with the understanding that SGA could give some financial help, I know that while you guys are making decisions, I know we would appreciate updates as an SGA. That way, one, we can help you guys get those updates out, but also just understanding that keeping student interests, in the group, you guys also so that's there. But also that since we have supported Okamoka, we'll continue to. If there was a possibility for SGA to have a seat at the table, whatever you guys make decisions as well.
So that's actually an idea that we've proposed to SGA, like in the past, because we wanted somebody to come sit at our meetings. And so if you have anybody in mind that would like to, initially we reached out to Hannah because she was the treasurer of SGA, and we just thought that would be a good idea. But we haven't really heard back. Yeah. And so if you all have anybody in mind that would like to sit at our table, we meet 3:30 to 4:30 every Tuesday in Admin 829. And we would we only really have a really small conference room. So, but whoever that person is would be given legitimate responsibilities for the thing.
I think it's time to get a check for the Boston's for that.
Well,
what time? Can you repeat it one more time?
3:30 to 4:30 every Tuesday in Admin 829. Like for this semester, and then we will be meeting over the summer as well, but we haven't established that schedule yet.
Sure. I know, I speak on behalf of myself, but also probably other people in this room that I know senators would definitely be interested in helping you guys with that. Even if that looks like 3 of us are technically serving with you guys, but we rotate who gets to go and just like meet back with each other. I know I'm here over the summer, so I can definitely meet with you guys.
Yeah.
So I know a few of us are as well.
Well, that'd be excellent, because this is going to be a busy summer.
It's going to be very,
In terms of decision making, you know.
Yeah.
And we mentioned we want this open by the fall. We really want to open for love. And we want some programming to happen. So.
So you mentioned the neighbor relations group. Hopefully it becomes a permanent structure, but in the fall, who's actually hiring and paying people?
Lisa Auction is going to answer that question. I'm privy to some discussions, but I'm not deciding.
Can you get back on one other?
So we get back to you on that. But,
how does that relate to the bigger, I guess?
Well, the piece of this has always been most mysterious to me is the hookup part. Like, who is that and what does it do aside from administering the space? And I love the idea that there would be an official UMBC presence in that stretch of Arbutus, but I don't know what that means.
I think initially it was kind of an idea, like in the beginning, of like maybe having somebody physically there. But I think recently it's transformed into like just the relationships that we're making. So like it's going to be on us, like everyone who's involved with like, you know, like marketing, like putting up information from the university in here in some sort of way, from the community, people renting out the space. But sorry, I haven't lost track of the question exactly.
So I think the best way to answer that question is really, so right now the neighborhood relations group, like, Beef and I have been to a few, kind of like they go there and just talk about updates, whereas OCA is giving them that name, like they are the Office of Community Affairs now, they are the steering community, gives them goals to work towards. You know, that it's not just an update meeting anymore, it's more like, okay, so how do we further this relationship between Catonsville, Arbutus, and UMBC? Once that's done, okay, so how do we reach out to BWI now? How do we reach out to Fort Meade? How do we make this a bigger scaled thing than it really is right now? So I think our biggest thing with that is that OCA is not going to be something new. It's really just transforming the neighbor relations group into something with more of a goal.
Let me tell you this, so it's been proposed to Freeman. He's got the answer.
Okay. Go knock out his door.
So I serve on that group, so I know,
yeah.
Some of how the people on it think. But I trust in Joe's answer. I know this is probably not the answer, but like there's a big difference between motivating the people on that group to do more outreach than they have, because you're right, they basically show up and report to each other, and administering an ongoing enterprise that requires daily tasks and supervision. So I trust President Hrabowski.
Yeah.
And Joe.
Okay, I'm there.
Wish I could say right now.
In terms of like administration and like who's going to be the OCA part, like are you saying that this committee or like group will be stationed at the location? So
by the station.
Like
that would be their workplace, right?
Yeah, their workplace. Like
and nobody on that group that is like that's not anybody's
sole
job. Yeah, you know, it's a bunch of people like, you know, David Hoffman serves on it. I know Lisa Auction, and I believe Joe might even, and a bunch of other people.
Yeah, so I mean, you know, I think I'll probably end up having some percentage of my job just has to do with transportation and facilities management, right? But as you were asking this question, there is an answer about how much FTE is going to go toward managing this. You just have to be a little bit more patient.
Yeah, within our business plan, there's like a financial section of it for operations, and I know that in the hiring there is like room for baristas and then managers, like somebody who's managing the mocha part, who like is kind of overseeing, also able to jump in, and then somebody who's also managing the OCA part for, you know, booking and just like overseeing that daily. So that is in the payroll.
Let me put it this way, fingers behind us 100%, so it will be solved.
Figure it out soon. We actually have a presentation to the President's Council next Friday, where we're giving them an update on where we've gone this semester, and so we are looking forward to them asking us a whole bunch of drilling questions. So we will get back to you with how they feel and all the stuff that because there's a lot of things that we do need to ask them as well.
Yeah.
For what are their ideas on, and like how, for lack of a better word, like permission and like things like that. So once all of that is figured out, we can get back to you guys on that. Because I think the money is somewhere where we've been a little bit like, we should probably leave that to the adults type thing.
Yeah, like we've been very like privileged to be like able to be involved in like the actual like business plan writing and everything of that sort. But then again, it's like, you know, we don't obviously have all the answers of like what we're allowed to do with money, and he understands all of the legal things, and you know, it's kind of not one place to ask. It's better when we're like kind of all together. But yeah, we'll have a lot more answers after that, of course.
Word. Well, I'm assuming there's been an evaluation of the fiscal impact of Okamoka on Arbutus and the sustainability of itself as an entity. Question.
So there has been for sustainability on itself, there has not been a comprehensive evaluation of its impact in the community yet, but that is something that we would like to pursue more. But like Maddie said, we do have a business plan and a financial plan that outlines how many years?
I think it's 2.
No, I think it's like the first 5 years.
3 to 5. Yeah.
We have a copy of it.
It's like 60 something.
So yeah, it's going to take 2 years for it to be profitable. That's what will be in the black. I believe is what we came up with.
I think only a year and a half, which typically is about 3 for starting businesses. Is 3 years to make a profit. But ours, from what it looks like, we'd be well ahead of that.
But in terms of the impact on Arbutus as a whole, that will also come from how much relation building we do with each business there, you know. So
yeah, and how many students we're able to, like, you know, bring into Arbutus, because that's the main thing, is that like hopefully this coffee shop will, you know, bring more students down to Arbutus, which will, you know, support those communities.
We do have one caveat that appears: we cannot sell pizza. It's actually in the written, it's in the written part. But we do have a UNDC students who's opened up a tea shop right down the road. Yeah, it's open, and it's called Taste Tea.
I don't know you.
He's a UNDC transfer.
Oh, okay.
And I think what's going to happen with this situation is the property will be friends to all those others who are selling food, because there will be food showing up in various manners in Okamoka. Just from the fact that students will want to bring and have food there. And we will only be focusing on the kind of thing you would find in a coffee shop. And since I'm on GABA, that means that you know, they can come and talk to me, and quite frankly, the business group is totally behind it. They think that feet on East Drive is nothing but positive, and probably can bring the next good business up to town and make that piece of property more, you know, just more feet, more traffic, more people, more money exchanging hands on that street, and hopefully bringing the next good thing to, if it's Froyo, I don't know, it's whatever.
So I just wanted to add a little bit to the financial impact, and the reason I asked that is because I know, at least from previous conversations, that the businesses that exist in Arbutus are at least on that strip are primarily service-based businesses, and I'm curious of the impact and the appeal students may have to those businesses, rather than just the Save a Lot or the Sorrento's, the Taste Tea. Like I also acknowledge there's other businesses there and like the potential impact the incorporation Oka may have to those businesses?
I mean, the GABA, like the Greater Arbutus Business Association, has been like one of our biggest supporters, and I think that since obviously we're not going to be buying like, I don't know if there's like a Windows place, like students are going to be buying like, some sort of service-based thing, but there's definitely opportunity for job connections and different stuff like that. I mean, students are always looking for jobs. I'm not sure if they're very well represented in some of our networking events, but definitely like that could be part of just like down there if they need help, an intern or just temp work. That's definitely an offer.
And if anything, by opening Oka in Arbutus around the local businesses, we're bringing foot traffic to the local businesses. So by bringing students and like attracting students to our shop, we have them experiencing the shops in the area as well.
Okay. Last part. Like, what are my biggest fears about the concept of a college town? Is it becoming something similar to College Park or Towson, where we have these large name brand like facilities that come near the town and like sort of just overtake everything and run out the local businesses? And I think because of the origins of Arbutus, of it being so locally business oriented, that we don't lose touch of that. And I think it's really valuable to at least have a community of local businesses, even if the nearest like Walmart is like down there. And I know there's a Scalar Station down the street too, for folks to take up.
That is something we are trying to stay as aware of as possible, to not overtake Arbutus. And every time we do introduce this idea, we bring up the fact that we're in Arbutus's front yard, they're not in our backyard. So we want to make sure that with everything that we do, we are keeping like the charm of Arbutus alive. And I mean, obviously we can't see 20 years down the line, but every decision that we make right now is trying our best to keep Arbutus as intact as possible, because we want to make this like a different kind of college town, like an antique, nice, small, cute college town, not like a huge city type thing.
And luckily, like the benefit, of GABA is that like since it's so small, they really do have a big influence on what happens on the street. And I know that they like would have to go down like fighting before that they let that kind of thing happen to their town.
But the goal is not to gentrify Arbutus. It's just to bring more business. I just want to make that clear.
Yeah, we figure that transit, we can take you to the Target, we can take you to the Walmart. We can take you to all those things that exist. And make this the, I keep coming back to the artistic destination. It should feel and have a real spirit about it. It's small town and fun and kitschy and quaint.
Similar to like old Ellicott City.
Yeah.
I like the arts district in like Hyattsville.
Just a fun place to be.
Right. It's actually it's very small once after this. A coffee shop.
Alright, so I just have a few questions and then we can probably just close it out with like final thoughts. So I guess whenever you talk about managers, so is it gonna be like one manager is hired and then hires all the team members, or who's the boss of the manager? Is it Joe? Is it us? Because then like how does team building come into hand? Because if you're putting students and like community members together, of course that could clash, it could do a great.
So all of those details, I think, are something that are going to have to come after the meeting with the President's Council.
Okay.
Just working out the logistics with the administration and making sure that everything we're doing is legal. And
sure.
So, well, no, yeah, I mean, it has to, yeah.
We keep that in mind to try to get that answer.
So it's all things we've thought about. We just can't come to a final answer without specific approval yet.
Okay. If you want to email us those questions that are still unanswered, we'll make sure to address them to the President's Council so that we can get back to you guys on those.
Okay. Yeah.
That's a great idea.
We probably just compile all this and then.
Do you want to do it?
So you can email it to Joe and I, because we already have that thread going. So just email it in there, and I'll screenshot it back into that.
Also, I guess like with touching base, would you guys be okay presenting to the Senate here and there of like updates as we start launching and something like Cool. And I mean, we'll send out updates in the summer. And then, last question, I have another question. So, I guess this is like to senators. So I think like this is a great project for all of us who work on together, SGA in general, not just us. But I think it goes a little bit deeper than just us putting on our Twitter that something's happening. So I think that after you guys depart, we should talk about how we can best help them with things like something you guys had touched on before was student government, student organizations renting out the spaces, which then will work with finance board to get like the fee covered if needed, as they request events and stuff like that. But it's a collective effort. Go ahead.
So student groups would just book the space. They wouldn't actually have to pay for it.
They don't have to pay a fee. Okay. So it wouldn't be like comments where they have to pay a fee.
No. It would be like booking a club.
That same thing, the setup fee, the AV fee, the kind of thing that you typically send.
Set up an AV would still count? Okay.
Yeah. So like
that's fine. Okay, cool. Just want to check. Other than that though, it'll just be more collective effort. But show of hands, what senators would be interested? Yeah. I mean, we're gonna keep talking about this in the group, but those that are planning on coming back next year as well, that way we don't lose momentum with this group. Show of hands. And do you have a question or is that hand?
Oh, no, I'm sorry.
No, you're good.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Okay. Cool. So can either of you make the Tuesday meetings? Mm-hmm. You can? Okay.
I can also.
Okay, and we can always do like a 3-way meeting to process information. Okay, cool. So do you guys have any questions, and do you guys have any questions? No? I plan on us talking more than where we, so we all can like have a good relationship. But other than that, I think we're good to go.
Yeah, and you can tell us if any, or if you're interested in coming tomorrow, just send us an email or just.
How many people can you fit to? Okay.
We'll make this swoop back from the table.
You said it's Tuesday tomorrow. What time? 3:30. 3:30. And 8:29.
Yeah. Because I know that as we process into the summer, we'll probably have somebody new come to the meetings. I'll probably be attending the meetings after I talk to senators. But for now, I can't make this meeting, so just like starting that relationship. All right. Thank you guys.
Thank you.
This was great. Any last questions for Joe about training?
Is that the one you were coming?
Yeah, for real, Joe.
I just want to it's going to come back up with the survey plan again.
Again? What
happened? Okay, so funding for a new route is always going to be a year out.
Right.
And any new route is going to require any small route is $100,000. Anything as large as Columbia is about $300,000. So it's growth. So the question is going to come out again. What is the interest in UNBC pursuing the route? And quite frankly, the students want to fund another green cost on campus. Do they want to reduce the number of cars on campus?
Right. So what I meant to say is, right, that collective effort.
A collective piece.
Gotcha. Senators, you guys can take 5. Go to the bathroom, grab water.
They're going
to be back by 7 at the absolute latest.
The jazz and palm was just putting down the
We just moved them.
I'll be, I don't know, maybe we're
yeah, I got walls and things.
I don't know why this week's done anyway. I definitely think, whenever you guys wrap up the meetings, let me know. And I'll force them all there.
All right, yeah.
It would have been mandatory. Optional. Mandatory optional.
Yeah. My hardware.
That free labor. Paintball.
Paintball, yeah,
I mean, as long as we're not breaking labor laws or anything.
Similar vibe.
Interested.
We're okay.
Alrighty then.
Volunteerism is okay.
It's like
Honestly, yeah.
like the diversion from the same species.
Yes.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like one's mountain, one's valley. You know what I'm saying?
Were adopted by different families. I can say.
Yeah.
How do you feel now?
Mine
Like
probably
it's
still.
not
Right.
I think so.
It's all cats. Oh.
Anyways, so with gentrification, like going back on track,
That's surprising you raise your hand.
I'm thinking that if they're supporting local businesses, we don't have to add new things. The only thing we're adding is coffee place.
But this is like something you actually were like really interested in. Well, we can
Ceremony
still work
coffee.
through with Miriam and Brandon and like
Which
the
supposedly
coffees.
is
It's like
it's not Arbutus centric, but it's more
Arbutus.
so it's not like a big thing.
I get it. And I gotta tell you, I did this not being gentrification. My thing is, 20 years down the line, are we gonna have like 20 buildings on that strip? Like the next time something becomes vacant, are we gonna purchase it and like put our own thing there instead of,
But
I don't
realistically,
know,
the more
I think
okay, so people like
maybe instead of the next time something
Because,
goes
like, having
vacant,
one
but
person is
maybe ensuring that things don't
which
go
is why I think
vacant.
it's better from this
So
side,
we're
because like we
supporting
all have different like Brandon brought up things that I know. Roberta brought up fiscal impact, but I don't know what the hell it is. I would have brought that up.
supporting local businesses
Or like
to make sure
whenever
they
you
don't
go
go
off
off.
the whole,
It's like the theater.
do you think we're gonna do that?
I think we're going to support specific things, like theater, not theater, and
David asked a good question. You know,
theater,
where would we do about him?
and then what other things are on that street. Right?
David is really
Right? It's a big thing. So, right. So that, and that's what I'm saying, and like that's kind of like a big name business. That's not local. So you know, whatever. But and like partnering with the bakery that's there. I think is that if we're generating, all this is like bringing in more, or what this is, not all of it, but part of it is bringing in revenue from the school. And then they're going to be spending money, or we're going to be spending money on the street. So I'm wondering, I understand that the hookah bar went out of business, and we, in like coordinating with GABA, took up that space. And we're essentially local as well. I think, as like a college partnership thing. And with the local sourcing and everything. I was going to ask about furniture, but I realized I just checked out of that part. They're talking about cycling, I think, furniture. And I was like, oh, I got the tail end of that, so just pretend it's answered. But I'm hopeful as long as like we continue to keep that in our like vision, their vision.
But they said in their student session they don't want it to be necessarily UBC's program. Because they don't want community members to feel like it's only for UBC students. Like being inclusive of all environments, which is why in their logo, the other thing that is cool is in the cup.
Like intentionally.
Different colors are institutional.
No, just as you know, like, say you intend, but I don't want to do this where it doesn't make us going to, you know.
Where are SGA officers coming from?
Oh, like, the presentation said that we don't want it to seem like UBC have it open up to the community. That means nothing to me, that statement.
I'm not, I don't.
What's the parallel to that?
Oh, I compared it to SGA because we want the SGA office to see like it's an inclusive space. Just because we say that doesn't mean that it is or that it will be.
I think there are structural differences between Okamoka and SGA office. Okamoka is on the street, not like we're like if I were to put like SGA office in like a comparable place in on the street, I'd be like it's in like the parking lot behind Rite Aid or something like that. It's not as open as I see, as it looks like open book.
As like multiple
Why is it
people
being
do something
something?
that makes sense.
Yeah,
No one else gets weird feelings about
I mean, it's important to voice them, and it's important to talk through them, and it's important to keep like a pin on them for future reference, you know.
It's just like weird to me, this small group of business owners is dictating what should happen in this week, that there's so many people. I feel like a bunch of college students are gonna use this space, a bunch of student breaks. And if I'm an old Arbutan, or that's what Jim Thomas calls them. I don't know.
That's what they call themselves also.
I don't know. I'm gonna feel comfortable going into this space that is probably gonna be used for.
I mean, what? I don't even know.
Still?
Because I can't remember his name. What they were talking about was building relationships on between UMBC and the Arbutus community. I heard that goes with how they wanted partnerships with the Shriver Center and volunteering, and I think if like tutoring, for example, is part of it, and they see that, oh, like if I have like a high school student being tutored by a UC student and they're meeting in Okamoka for their tutoring session, that seems like a pretty positive relationship to like kind of synergize that. And I think that the way that Joe phrased it was that their focus was a very kind of like familial sort of thing, and so if we're helping their kids, they'd be open to that.
That sounds so strange to me. This sounds like, okay, you know how Johns Hopkins kind of like quickly was like, the only, well, we haven't tested medically on marginalized communities, and we're not like evil or anything like that. But I think the reason that I approach it this way is because one time I heard a story from this lady, my boss's wife, was driving me through her old neighborhood where Johns Hopkins is currently. And she was like, yeah, I remember as kids, we used to play right here. And Johns Hopkins came and everything, well, not the hospital, but Johns Hopkins came. And it was cool because they did X, Y, and Z, but then they started
I sure hope it
It's just like, I'm really worried about that aspect because, yes, we're tutoring our kids. Johns Hopkins tutors our black kids all the time, but they just don't have a home. Like,
has the student vote link been redirected?
I think that Arbutus is also a different town.
Has the student vote link been redirected?
UBC is a different university than Johns Hopkins in terms of I'm thinking that the socioeconomic gap is a little bit narrower here than it is. I might be wrong. So I think that might keep people from having their lifestyle audience, whatever you might call it, as shifting as dramatically. I don't know how to do that. I think maintenance of space is the more important. And something we should also continue like. I like how, for example, they're upcycling furniture. That's super cool. I think we continue that mindset.
Did you prepare
legislation seating a lot?
I just got minutes today.
Okay, I did it already. It's fine. I got you. I did it already.
Alright, we need a resolution.
I only can say what I think.
We do that today.
I'm an entrepreneur person.
I'm not ready. It's fine. We just need. I mean, like, if we want to draft it legally, we can.
Alright, guys, hi. So, I'm moving back to this corner. I just want to tell everybody why. So, like, me not being at the table can create, like, a weird power dynamic that I'm not a part of the group, or that, like, I'm not there. But, being here lets me see everybody better, and it's a better vantage point. I'm able to gauge your guys' like, reactions and feelings and things better, and be able to, like, see you all. So, when I was sitting there, I was, like, missing people, and people were having responses and things. So, just letting you know, like, over here, that way I can, like, best gauge and serve you all. So, Hi. By being in this room, you are being live streamed, and you're authorized to that. I forgot to tell the last group that, so thank you. Thank you.
Yeah.
Okay, I want to go around and do some introductions, starting with Joshua. If you can say your name, position, pronouns, and a weird thing about you.
Yes.
Okay. My name is Josh Massey. I'm president of the SGA. I'm senior, he, him pronouns. And something weird about me. There's so many things. I sing to my kid whenever we get on the phone with each other. Every time. Yeah.
Way to call her out.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm Justin. I'm a senator. He, him pronouns. I guess something weird about me is whenever, like, no matter how, like, I guess, I don't know how to put it, but no matter how, like, good I do on a test, I always assume, like, I did very bad.
Oh.
I think this has been, like, on every single test I've taken.
I'm David, assistant director of campus life, he, him pronouns, and I first ran for a position in the student government when I was 7 years old.
I'm Julian, I'm a senator, he, him pronouns. Something weird about me is every time I walk, my right foot cracks.
My name is Barry Balazoga. I'm a senator. She, her pronouns. And a weird thing about me is I put my cereal first.
Before the milk?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean,
That's weird. Hold on.
How?
Oh, yeah, I'm sorry. I just did the wrong phone.
My name's Cameron, he, him pronouns, and a weird thing about me is they grow carnivorous plants. Means bypass something like that.
Hey, I'm Markia. I'm vice president of SGA. She, her pronouns. The weird thing about me is I enjoy Cheerios with orange juice.
Wait, what kind of Cheerios?
Maybe not Cheerios.
Okay, never mind.
Now,
Enjoy the
ball. Now I can't see this entire room.
Oh gosh, this is the Hi, my name is Brandon. I'm a senator. I use he, him pronouns. And a weird thing about... Oh, I will best anyone at a 4-legged race.
I'm Miles. I'm a senator. Yeah. I can't swim.
Can't what?
Swim.
Hi, my name is Lily. Speaker of the Senate, she, her pronouns. That's a weird thing. I refuse to use pencil, especially wood pencils. So if I ever have to use pencil, I use mechanical, but only by force. So like Scantron exams. But any other time I write anything, it has to be a pen. Because pencil is the worst thing. So don't ever give me a pencil to write with, preferably, unless that's all you have to offer.
Oh, yes, thank you. Good catch.
Yeah, that would have been bad. Okay, so.
Yes. I was going to ask to read over everyone.
That's so much fun.
I used the same thing from last year, but it's pretty bad.
All right.
No shade.
David?
Thank you.
So how do we,
So,
please lead.
yes. In Maryland, there is an entity called the Maryland Higher Education Commission that has some responsibility for all colleges and universities. It's not the University System of Maryland Board of Regents. Its scope actually extends beyond the Board of Regents scope to include even private institutions in the state of Maryland. So it's an unusual kind of entity, but it sets policies relating to things like eligibility for financial aid and which universities get to offer which majors. There's a student member of the Maryland Higher Education Commission, so it functions kind of like the Board of Regents. And then separate from that, there's a Student Advisory Council where every college and university in Maryland gets to send one person to this body, and they meet several times a year and come up with recommendations to the commission about the business of the commission. Manisha has been UMBC's representative this year. If she were here, she could probably give you a better and more accurate explanation of everything than I can. But the interesting thing is, it's the president of UMBC who gets to decide who the student is who represents UMBC on the Student Advisory Council, which is an interesting arrangement. President Rogowski, in his wisdom, has wanted to hear recommendations from other people at UMBC, including student leaders, about who the student should be. And at some point in the past, SGA made a part of its bylaws a statement that the Senate has to confirm any recommendation as to President Rogowski of who the nominee should be. So what also tends to happen is that UMBC gets invited to submit a representative, like a week and a half or 2 weeks before we actually have to do the submitting. So we go through a quick process of reaching out to people who may be interested, and we know people who are interested. And fortunately, this year we have a person who I think is a good candidate, who is eager to serve. This is Cameron. He was recommended to me by the person who runs the Sondheim Scholars Program. And so I want you to spend time talking with him and go through whatever process we want to get to the point of deciding whether we're going to recommend him to President Rogowski. Well, I would help the election board make sure the selection gets done. I'll be back soon. You're waiting to return.
It's over. It's fine.
It's over.
Through the whole Senate in a lake.
It's a confirmation.
Yes.
I'll be right back.
Oh my goodness. All right. Hi, Cameron. So, do you want to tell us a little bit about yourself and how you came to this position, et cetera?
Sure. So my name is Cameron. As I said, I'm a sophomore Untitled Chapter scholar and a member of the Honors College. I'm studying geography and environmental studies, if it matters. I think that one of the things that really interested me about the position was like my experience doing a bunch of different activities on campus or off campus as well. Like in my freshman year, I did some volunteering through the Shriver Center. Over that freshman summer, I did a faculty-led study abroad. In the fall, I did a full-time kind of co-op position where I worked full-time down in DC. So I think that I've experienced a bunch of different things that students do on campus, and really want to make sure that students continue to have the ability to do those things regardless of their financial means or status. And I found out about the position through Jessica Cook, who's the associate director of the Sondheim program, as David said. She just said, "Hey, we'd like to nominate you if you're interested for the position." So I jumped at it and spoke with Manisha, who's the current representative, I think on Friday, and was really interested in what she had to say about the position. So there I am. Something like really grilling. No.
I mean, does anyone understand? Does everyone have a good understanding about what this group does now? Are there any questions? It's hard at heart with Manisha absent.
Exactly.
So
so Manisha has a migraine, just for anybody that was wondering.
No, it's fine.
No, I didn't tell her she's missing.
So what are the? Let's try to clear up what the responsibilities are of this. Okay, so as David said briefly, every college in Maryland, every accredited college in Maryland has the right to send one student to sit on this council, right? So every post-secondary institution. Now, how that plays out very differently. That means either every private school, every public school. There are 16 public schools in Maryland, and there are more than that of private schools. So every school gets the right to send one student. But how that plays out is the larger private schools usually send one student, and then each of the public schools usually appoint one student. Now, half of them don't show up to these meetings. The council meets every once a month, similar to how the USM Student Council meets. to discuss issues that are relevant to the Higher Education Commission. And they met here in October, a while back, to discuss some things. This council is like, we really need to send a strong person to represent UMBC, because usually this council is very unorganized, and its advisor, like its staff structure, is also very challenging to work with, as it has been in the past. So, like, there's some like things that need to be worked out. Of course, it fluctuates year to year. Some years this council is very active, some years it's not. So it really depends. So yeah.
So like undertaker issues that affect students at like higher education institutions, like issues like what? Like I know financial aid was one of them. And what else?
So remember when we talked about last week or the week before, when we talked about like INDS changing from interdisciplinary studies to individualized studies? That's something that has to be approved by the Higher Education Commission. Like, to say that, like, I think we've talked about in this room before about like how schools like have made certain programs special to their campus. Well, that's how this is done, primarily through the Higher Education Commission, in consultation with the university system, but that's mainly a decision that's held in the Higher Education Commission. Like, and there's a lot of different things.
Yeah.
The commission is not just this council, it's a board of commissioners that are all appointed by the governor and are confirmed by the legislature of Maryland. And there's always one student that always has to be a student commissioner. But yeah. Any other questions about Student Advisory Council, the Higher Education Commission? A lot of people get money from the Higher Education Commission.
Is your question for Josh or Finn?
So with what they do, it's separate from when they're deciding what majors are offered in different institutions. That's separate from deciding what classes are offered. That's general education.
So the Higher Education Commission is universities in the Maryland statewide to decide what classes are offered versus are not offered. That is a decision that's made by each university.
This is for Josh and Jen. For Jen. Okay. Marquia. Okay. Marquia and George.
So given this recent knowledge of the council, it's a two-part question. What interests you about this specifically? And also, what do you think qualifies you to be on this council?
What interests me about it is the potential to make change at the statewide level on behalf of students. One of the things that I mentioned I was really interested in was the ability of students to engage in a lot of different varied opportunities. And speaking of Tanisha, she said one of the things that MHEC recently did was they raised the threshold to be a full-time student from 12 credits to 15. And so that means it's like much harder for someone to do an internship or get a job off campus. And so I'd be a big advocate for the kind of things like that that really impact students who are trying to get an education or work or do an internship. And I think what qualifies me for the position, like I talked about my experiences on campus, and then one of the other things I think is a big qualifier for me is I've been on a board of directors before for a youth summer theater company where I was a parliamentarian, which is basically the person who oversees the bylaws and make sure that everything's staying within the rules. And so I've worked on a council, a group of people before. I think I could bring that kind of leadership to this one as well.
So my knowledge about MHEC is pretty limited, but given what Josh told me, or Josh said, and what your conversation with Manisha consisted of, what do you feel like the position entails? What do you feel like you will bring to the table, or what do you think your job will be?
So the job is to represent the interests and needs of UMBC students, for the your peers from other universities and then to the commission itself. So I would think that a lot of the work could be making recommendations to the commission based on the things that we're seeing going on at our universities. Especially testifying before the legislature about issues of concern to students. That kind of thing.
Sure. So to touch on like Josh's comment about like systemic issues, like how would you I guess affect the change or propose?
I mean, I don't know about specific issues at this point. I mean, I think that it's important to try and engage all the students on the council to make sure that everyone is really taking it seriously. And so that's why I would look to try and take a leadership position on the council, because in my conversation with Manisha, she did emphasize that there have been issues, like Josh said, with people being really engaged in the commission. So I would want to take a position of leadership where I can make sure that people are really invested in this body, and then work within or amongst us to try and find issues that we can find commonalities at our universities with, and work to find some good solutions too.
Yeah, so I'm just looking on the website about the Student Advisory Council, and I'm just seeing the different roles that they have, like quality and effectiveness, access and affordability, diversity and inclusion, student-centered learning system, economic growth and vitality. I'm interested to know how you're going to represent UMBC's specific, I don't want to say climate, but the students, how are you going to best represent the students at UMBC? Because all institutions are very different, so how are you going to make sure that our unique experience here is going to be voiced?
Yeah, I mean, I think that UMBC obviously is a really big cultural civic engagement, and so I want to jump on that and be someone taking a leadership position on the commission. Who's going out and trying to actually engage with students. Hopefully, one thing I was thinking beforehand is having a more formalized relationship between the MHEC student representative and the Senate, so I could come to you, maybe on halfway between meetings or whatever, and see what concerns you guys are hearing from students and bringing that to the board. So really trying to get a good picture of how students are actually thinking, and bringing that to the commission.
I don't know why I raised my own hand. So out of the topics that George just listed, if you need me to relist them, I will for you. But okay, I'll ask that question first. So out of the issues that they do focus on as goals for the council, what's one of the largest ones that you think pertains to UMBC and how you advocate on behalf of students? And so it's quality and effectiveness, access and affordability, diversity and inclusion, a student-centered learning system, or economic growth and vitality.
I don't know how exactly I would advocate. I think would depend on what the issues that are being brought up that are in front of the council. I think I'd be big on ensuring that other universities have a similar level of quality education like we have here. So bringing my experience from doing research with professors and going on faculty-led study abroad trips. So taking those experiences and hopefully the experience of others and highlighting those feel from UMBC to the council.
All right, any other questions?
Yeah, I'm also looking that there's some ongoing projects, so there's a student service award and annual service day. I don't know if you know what those are, but are there any projects that you're interested in or you might be interested in when you're on the MHEC, if you're on the MHEC Student Advisory Council?
You mean beyond those? Or?
Yeah, beyond those or those.
I'm not totally sure, to what projects that are currently ongoing. It sounds like there's a lot of opportunity to create new projects and pursue those. I'm a public affairs scholar, so I'm very interested in public service, and so I definitely be interested in emphasizing the service project that they do.
Brandon, do you have a question?
Ish.
Okay. Sure.
So I was interested, you touched upon this when you were talking about like mid-meeting meetings with Senate, but I was interested in how, maybe if you thought of other avenues that you can reach like the voice of the peers that you're going to be representing. I know Manisha was the last MPEC. Correct. Yes. Correct. And so she has a slightly different position where she's already a senator.
Yeah.
And so I'm wondering what plans you might have to maintain that connection with the rest of the state body.
Yeah, I mean, definitely, I'm trying to work somewhat through you guys because you've been directly elected by them. A lot, will hopefully just be appointed. I could also see like doing, trying to do like polling on, my UMBC, something like that, to try and gain students' input, trying to like talk to a retriever about the issues that are going up before the commission and seeing if we can get more student engagement that way. So 2 things just off the top of my head.
Cool. All right, any more questions or any discussion? Justin?
I'm not sure if this is already like a thing that's done, but will you be like coming back here periodically to like tell us of updates and progress and whatever?
Yeah, so that was what I was kind of trying to recommend, like, trying to formalize sort of, or make a more formal arrangement between Senate and perhaps the executive and the MPEC representative. Because I, as far as I know, there is not such a formal process. I think it would make sense to have that.
Any questions? I think you seem great. And I think even though I think MPEC is a little bit of a entity that not all of us have a full handle on, that you do seem fit to represent UBC, and that I do like the idea of formal check-ins and just like meeting with us periodically to make sure we're on the same page of what we think the students need and how we are also taking the things that we hear and bringing to them. So I have faith that you'll be great. Anybody else have discussion?
Yeah, I just want to like emphasize that if you're chosen to be in this position, definitely come back to the, definitely report out to someone, because or tell someone what's happening, because I don't really know what they do. Like personally, like I know what they say, but it's like I don't really understand it yet. And I feel like if there was constant communication, I feel like it would be definitely more clear, at least with the Senate, what MPEC does. Yeah. It seems like MPEC plays a pretty important role, so yeah, just definitely like focus on getting more communication.
Ooh. Yeah, I agree.
Thank you.
Right.
To touch on getting more communication and Brandon's point about finding different avenues, I think we're like a good resource, but I guess definitely finding ways on your to reach the student or like get the student voice.
Yeah.
Okay. Any other
Oh, I was going to move to approve. That's all 58, 17, 18.
Just, there we go. All right. Anybody will want to register any abstentions? No? All right. How many senators? 4? Just 1. Any senators against? Not present. 2. And with that, motion passes. Congrats. So, thank you for coming in. I'm not sure whenever MPEC meetings really start.
It's like September, I think, it's the first one.
They have no meetings in summer.
Wait, what?
No, student council doesn't meet up somewhere.
Also okay, so, cool. I guess once the new speaker is elected, I know that we can have that conversation about you coming in every periodic in between meetings and stuff like that. But for right now, I hope you have a great day. I'm not a break. Thank you for coming in.
Thank you. What are you looking for?
key conversations.
Yeah.
Did you have any other people who wanted to like oh, you said that he was recommended to you, right? Okay.
But not traditionally, just like the assistant speaker.
Oh, that's correct.
No.
Is there an interest in that generally, other than realistic interest in the DM position? Or do we send the assistant speaker because that's who is normally accessible?
We don't send the assistant speaker, but any shift is interested in doing it. It's not a go with the position.
Well, was there anybody else interested in the position?
I have not heard of anybody who expressed interest. That's something we're going to leaders in SGA, asking them for suggestions. If you have people around the campus and then other people have heard about it, because we know that 20% capacity grant was shared a few times.
Are you in presentation? You could also.
I can't. You would, please. I mean, like, it's okay. I can send it to the front right now. That's okay.
Alright. So, hi Josh.
What's up?
So how was the SGA review meeting? Talk to us.
It was fun. There have been some changes.
Okay.
Did I include the right letter? Yes, I did. Great, awesome sauce. Let's see where. All right, so there have been a couple different changes, and the only changes are right here, this first page.
Okay.
So there's been a change in the administrative overhead, a $2,046 addition to that. I think I covered what administrative overhead was before, but I can do that again if people would like.
Just go for it.
Oh, okay, sure. So every campus department pays a 4% administrative overhead fee to the university. Usually that 4% fee is like for services that are not, that like the services of using the university. So like using payroll, using procurement, using different financial services, using campus space and all those different things. We have an arrangement with Campus Life to pay our administrative overhead to the Office of Campus Life for those, again, those unquantifiable different expenses that that are incurred throughout the year that they support us with. So that's what this $42,000 is. Usually 4% of any budget. For the past 3 fiscal years, it has been sitting at $40,000. Dr. Young wanted to see it at the actual 4%, so that's why they increased to $42,000. Lastly, if you look at line A16, that's been changed a little bit. Oh, okay. No, you're fine. You're fine. It's just weird that I thought Gerardo was going to have a question at this one.
They were here.
Yes.
What do you think the question was?
No,
just ask it.
Never. No, I had a strong feeling that Gerardo was going to ask a question about this one. But anyway, so the portion before this line was the contribution to David's salary, or whoever's in that position. Sorry. Don't think of contributions to positions, not people. So one of the problems was that Dr. Young was not consulted before Trisha, Dan, and I met about this section of the budget. And in the student affairs budget, they were making on this contribution to support the institute, specifically David's salary. So we've added that back. And, all right.
You keep referencing David's budget. I mean, his whatever. What are you talking about?
What do you mean? This is going, like, this is the part, this has historically been the contribution to David's salary.
That's 13.
The 13 through 22.
Okay.
All right. So now because of a miscommunication, we've added that back to the SGA budget because it's already Like that was unaccounted for money that wasn't agreed upon by documents.
It was going to the AD at the time.
I'm sorry. It was, but now it's
So
going
now
to the new
we're-
positions.
Okay,
Yes. Does that make sense?
not really, but I'm all wrapped with it. Good.
I have like the same question essentially. So I'm wondering what the previous monies were. I think I'm seeing.
Bless you.
So line A16 is essentially coming from line A10.
No.
No.
When you say David, are you talking about the SGA advisory?
This is probably,
Yeah.
Right.
I think you need to describe A16 in a way that references what was there before.
So
Oh.
before this line used to read contribution to civic agency coordinator.
Okay.
Right? Now,
So is this like the Strive budget and that type of stuff?
no.
Oh my.
It was the 11%. Or sorry, go ahead.
Let's go back in time to when, years ago, Craig was hired on as the SGA advisor.
Yes.
There was a dilemma when SGA presented its annual budget because the cost of Craig at the time was lower than the cost of me at the time, but the Division of Student Affairs had built our plans around continuing to employ me. And so at the time, there was this conversation with SGA saying, well, since David's position it's a new position, is going to continue to support SGA in part, let's just make the SGA contribution, instead of David's entire cost, which is what it used to be, now it's going to be Craig's entire cost, plus the fraction of David's cost that is the difference between Craig's cost and David's previous cost.
No word. I don't understand.
In other words,
You lost.
Yeah.
I genuinely do not understand anything you just
what
said.
the division's concern was, we can't hire staff but get less money from SGA. We need to get the same money from SGA. Get it?
No.
The money from the day before Craig is hired to the day after Craig is hired coming from SGA has to be the same.
But Craig was cheaper than you, therefore it went up.
True, but the division has to continue, in order to make it possible to hire Craig, the division still has to be able to pay me. And so what the division said was, well, I'm oversimplifying, you're going to get the benefit of David's position, because my position didn't exist before, and it encompassed responsibilities beyond SGA, but also some responsibilities for doing things like supervising Craig. And so the division said to SGA, just continue paying the same amount of money, but describe it differently. So instead of saying, this is the amount of money to support the assistant director of student life for civic agency, now it's going to be a little bit of that, and the rest of it's all going to be to support the coordinator for campus and civic engagement. Same amount of money from one year to the next, described differently to reflect the fact that you have new staff members. See it?
I don't. Mark, you had your hand up.
I completely forgot.
I'm ready.
Right now.
I would like my staff explaining this. Would that help?
Yes.
Take me.
Everybody needs to explain it back. Everyone explain it
David,
back.
I think it's time you just took to do that, but that didn't help me.
What
I'm
I
sorry.
heard-
I love you.
What I heard was previously, David being our advisor and everything else that David does, his position was a combination of lines A10 and A16.
No.
Right.
Wait.
That's part of the problem.
Wait. Oh, way back when. Okay, yeah, sure.
Okay, so
Yeah.
A10 and A16
So,
were together.
Historically, David's position was A10 plus A16.
Correct.
He moved essentially, and Craig took in the advisory role. Craig's entire salary and everything was less than David's. So we're still paying for Craig's entire thing, which was A10. But then where does the A16 pot go? And so that's going to supplement David's salary, and the rest of David's salary is being paid for by student affairs.
Well, that is the case as of the time that Craig started. Right? You just described it exactly correctly, except the one thing I would challenge is this wasn't an increase to my salary.
It's supplementing, right?
It's supplementing the money that student affairs is putting, and then my salary stayed the same.
Right.
And then what changed was that instead of paying my salary, SGA started paying Craig's somewhat smaller salary and benefits, plus an amount that made the contribution consistent from one year to the next.
That's something you think? I can draw
That's
Mark, here, are you going to try to re-explain it?
I have a question about you. Are you just, what was your question, Roman?
That's what I have a question.
Because my understanding of this, which is super probably oversimplified, is that we have always paid David this amount of money that's A16, and now it's just being, instead of it being David as he exists now, he'll be David as he will transform.
Is that it?
That's exactly true. Yes.
That is true.
Thank you, Sophia. That's all I
We're just like,
so you were a butterfly in one office, and I was flying to your other one, and we're paying you still.
yes, the same amount that we've always.
Shabbat bing. David, you have something else to say? I can see.
Yeah, we are. That's going to David. Well, okay, it's going to
A16
David.
is going to David?
A16 is going to David.
I think I went too far back. I think that was an issue.
So it's just a trend. It's just a name change.
So-
Just change A16 to David, and that would make sense.
Yes, there you go.
Actually do that.
Yes.
So, you were being paid a certain amount. Craig was cheaper than you, so they put you
Oh, wait.
He loves saying that.
So then, they cut Craig down to whatever money he was worth.
Take it down.
And then took that money that he wasn't worth and still gave it to you whenever you moved. Craig, I love you. Is that how it goes? There's many other questions if that is true as to why that happened the way it did, but
So, I'm going to draw a picture.
I'm currently drawing a picture.
so we have a whiteboard. Can we?
I've asked the other markers.
Oh, Joe, nice to you.
I have a question. So
Hopefully it's the same.
so it's the full-time coordinator and the contribution to the institute that we're looking at right now.
No, right now we're looking. The only change is A16.
Okay.
So in the new MOU, the original MOU that I sent you all weeks ago, right? It included A11 through A14,
Yes.
a total of $154,000.
Okay.
Right. Because of the miscommunication, and the business office thinking that with David's transition, his salary will be covered by other parts of the division. We cut A16 at first. Now, because of that miscommunication has been cleared, we're adding A16 back.
That makes sense.
Does that somehow benefit David better than? Does that help you?
I mean, it completes the salary.
Well, if my salary doesn't come out of the activity fee, it's going to come out of the common space. The students are going to pay it one way or the other. Right? I'll tell you why I think this helps me and SGA. I want there to be a financial connection between SGA and the Institute. I want SGA to be able to say, we pay for a part of the Institute, we have a right to claim some attention. Right? I want that. I want you to want
asking
that.
for David.
Not that it requires that you pay in order to have that attention, but I think that's a helpful thing.
So we've always paid you this amount. Oh my God, this money. This line item is just you. It says David Hoffman.
Yeah, I used to say civic agency coordinator, and I think Josh said that it's a bad practice to just wipe out the line and rename it because then it's literally not true for some of the years that are reflected on the chart.
Let's just do some magic here.
So you need to find a way to reflect.
Should we add it to? Yeah, sure. Should we add it to? I was going to make a new line, but we can put it in the co-sponsorships too. I don't know if they care.
I'd like to hear it among the
administrative support. Okay, well, this is what we're going to do.
And I think you're right, adding a line.
We're going to add a line.
I see him right here. Hold up. So what
We're
was
going
the
to move.
How they doing dirty knowing that? How they doing dirty putting him in your position and being like, yes, the old person got paid this much, but you're not.
Well, so
sucks to suck live uncomfortably.
Sometimes the state will increase salaries because we get a cost of living increase. Sometimes the state will, very rarely the state will increase salaries because they give a merit bonus pool to universities to decide how to divvy up. So if I give up 2%, I have been here for 8 years before Craig started.
Yeah.
And so in that time, have gotten some salary increases that started in the same
And then they
position.
technically couldn't put him at the same amount because you would earn those things.
Right.
Yeah, okay, that makes so much sense now. Ooh. Are you?
It's not really relevant to the budget, so I can
Is it relevant, John?
yes. So
Okay.
David,
Yes, Mark.
when you do your new thing, since we are paying part of it, will you still have regular meetings with people in the SGA?
All the time.
Sweet.
David told me my one-on-one is still spent on. So therefore, yes. But plus David, I feel like, has conveyed that he wants to still have a connection with SGA, so like, he doesn't want us to totally write him off.
Correct. And
that's
if
why
we
he
had
wants
gotten
his
the
financial
increase you requested, then I would have hoped that SGA would pay for a third position in the institute beyond Romney's and mine.
Yeah.
Which would have been great and may happen in the future.
Now that unpaid internship opportunity, you can keep laughing. I'm being dead serious.
All right, hold on. Let's copy this over.
People take unpaid internships all the time.
No, I mean, which
They
one
could
of
get
us?
class credit for it.
There's
They get
one
class credit
position,
for it.
there's a bunch of us.
Work on that, David.
We're gonna fight to the death.
Right.
As long as we can get some, they'll take it.
In the draft budget for the Institute from the Division of Student Affairs, there's actually a paid internship.
For yours. So that's what that third position will be for now.
For now, yeah.
So it won't be like a grad student, it'll probably be an undergraduate student.
Graduate student.
Is that sufficient for you? Is that gonna be okay?
We're gonna make it work, and Senator Bernie and I will be working very hard.
Well, look, those are serious questions, my friends. David's important. So David, so as you run me and one paid intern. Good stuff.
For now.
Is it stipend or is it bi-weekly? Okay.
All right, I think I'm good. Let me just check these numbers.
David, can we get bi-weekly updates on the institute progress?
Absolutely.
Can you tell me whenever you're moving out of your office?
I think you'll notice, actually.
No. David doesn't know where he's going.
I know where I'm going. I don't know when.
You're gonna tell me later.
The most recent plan locates Romy and I in what's now the Student Involvement Center.
It didn't work out.
What was that for?
I can't roll it out. I'm telling you. She has said it. I said it.
What?
I said it. It's fine. Why can't you believe me? No, I'm kidding. I don't know.
I'm just double checking all the numbers.
I want
make sure I'm
to
cool.
about that. Plus, we're waiting for jobs. We can talk all about it offline. Whatever.
Oh,
Which one?
it's a subtraction. A16, that's subtracted. Now,
Jordan's the math man of the set.
Yes.
Just so you guys know.
Does that make sense?
and now it's going to be A17.
Oh, well, wait, hold on.
But then A17.
Hold on, this is still wrong. This is still wrong. Hold on.
Jordan,
This
I'd
is still,
like to
this is
say,
all zeros.
I love when you pull out your graphing calculator. You start adding up numbers in the middle of computation.
You make a contribution institute for democracy and civic life.
It's going to be a paid internship for an undergrad.
Yes.
So that
For what?
it's a staff contributions to
What?
civic life.
Oh, okay.
I can perfect.
Thank you, because I do not want to make that column. I have sized these columns appropriately. I do not want to make it any larger.
All right. So it's fixed.
Mostly, yes, it's all fixed.
So A17 is David's corner. Good stuff.
Was it always 14,000 or was it?
No, it was 13,322.
But that accounts for the fact that the state of Maryland's budget incorporates a cost of living adjustment.
Okay.
And I'm not sure if I told you this on Friday. This is included in the MOU that I guess we will be signing with Dan, and it's not to change it for the next 3 years.
Oh, this contribution's not this
Yes, that's my understanding. I don't know if we want to sign. I would prefer to split the MOU out into the things that are like in like the advisor and the.
I would also prefer the MOU to be as detailed as possible.
Yeah, I mean like it is very detailed. I can forward you the updated version.
Cool.
But
Let's do that.
I think we should do 2 different MOUs for this. Dan included it in his MOU, but we can.
Did you talk to him about that?
No, he just did it and sent it to me. But yeah, I can forward it to all of you.
Alrighty. Any other changes?
I think this is it.
How did SIFRB feel about stipend increases?
They didn't say anything about stipends on Friday.
I saw in the notes something. Oh, I think it might have just been what we were asking.
Yeah, I just told everyone everything.
Our like review of like we will review these stipends.
Yes, I know. I wish Gerardo was here, but
What?
We can have on the bottom line.
yes, I got you. This is 7466.
What? There's the meeting set out. The minutes were set out. Don't read all my emails. So just like.
All right, so can we go back to the operating budget real quick?
Yeah.
One thing that I did change based on initial feedback from Dr. Young was that go to showdown stipends, and I just wanted to hear from you all. I did change this back to the full 17,500. However, we can do that as you wish. I think Gerardo was trying to explain that they feel like there should be a 6% increase across the board. I don't know how people feel about that because we didn't finish that conversation. But we can.
What is your reasoning behind? So you only brought it back up because Gerardo said that it should go back up.
I brought it back up for a couple reasons, right? Yeah. Sorry. One, I had to talk to Colin and making sure that this kind of aligns with what.
Bring that stand up.
Oh.
But you can keep talking. Okay.
All right. I had to talk to Colin and like trying to align some of the things that he's trying to do next year with how this looks currently. That's one, and then two was because of Gerardo's concern about not increasing them across the board. So I don't know. Is this a compromise, or we do want to decrease it? What do we want to do with that?
Is that open for answer?
Yes. Go ahead. Brandon?
So my thing is, I'm seeing like a net increase from the last budget that you proposed. I'm wondering where that money's coming from.
Mm-hmm.
So that you're increasing line A17 now.
Yeah.
And you're also not decreasing the executive branches.
Yeah. So all that will come from the reserve, just like we discussed on Friday.
Yep. As far as opinions go, I have no issue with the cabinet office going back up to 17,000 with the understanding that people are held to higher levels of accountability this following year, and that either we have less departments that pay people more so they're more motivated, or we revisit that item. That's how I feel.
Okay.
Because the only reason I support these decreases is because I think people are doing more miles.
Jordan's first.
Oh, Jordan, I didn't see you, sorry.
Yeah, so I remember there was an ideation for fiscal year 20. So was that with the second increase? If there was any kind of, what's that thing called? The fee increase?
Yeah.
So that it didn't get approved?
It was not.
Okay, that's what I thought.
If they're all increased across the board, wouldn't that?
I didn't increase it across the board.
Well, hypothetically, like if it was, wouldn't it make it harder to eventually bring them all closer together at some point in time, which is the goal?
No, it actually is more beneficial if they're all increased across the board, because then that gives you more money to work with as a total. Yeah, but I didn't increase. I mean, like we can.
Plus, cabinet officers is split depending on what the president decides to do with the department. So, realistically, like Josh, how many cabinet officers right now? What is that split?
We have fewer cabinet officers than we had in the fall, so like far fewer. So.
Right, but the money wasn't even dispersed.
I mean, it was. Wait, go back. What did you say?
So, like this pot of money, for example, it's not like an election board where if there's only 5 members.
Oh yeah, no.
So there's still money left over in that line item.
There's plenty of money left over in that line item.
If the next incoming president decided to only have 7 cabinet officers, that would get split 7 ways. But
no, it would get split however it is only less ways.
Well, yeah, but I'm saying if they decide to take the whole pot of money and split it by 7.
Oh, sure, yeah.
Because then it wouldn't make sense to just give them that and have left over.
Yep.
But if they chose 15, does that make sense? Okay, any other questions? comments on how we feel about this? Is anybody opposed to Josh putting it back to 7,500? Okay, well then if you have feelings, voice this to the next incoming SGA president about how you want that money to be spent in the accountability issues.
There is one challenge that was also brought to me, but yeah, go ahead.
I wanted to look at the overall budget and look at the online numbers.
Okay. Can you zoom in? Is that better?
So why is the transfer from reserves has been 45,000, right?
Yes.
Where it now says 70,466.
Yeah.
What accounts for that difference? That's bigger than the sum of 13,000 that.
It was already not balanced beforehand. The budget was not balanced beforehand.
There was some.
Yeah, like the SCP part was not added in there, and yeah, it was just not balanced. So that this just balances it.
45,000 of that is not going to repeat. It's a one-time thing. Right? The
45,000, yeah. 45,000 is one time, yes.
Because that's important. The plan is not right, because otherwise it looks like
yes,
this is an unsustainably out of balance budget.
Yes.
So what you're really saying is
it's really 45,000 that is not.
I think this is a more helpful way to present it.
What is the 45,000? Please.
All right, so actually it's probably more than 45,000. If we go back,
Is it
it's the line B113. Just 30,000, and then
oh, I forgot about that.
yes, and then
Okay.
there is line B41, which is the retriever project, which we talked about already.
And it's 45.
Yes, and then yeah, that's the 45 exactly.
Okay.
So it's about 25,000 that is
recurring and not being
recurring and not budgeted on the theory that in practice SGA is very likely to underspend that amount of money.
Exactly.
And so this is really a way of forecasting a balanced budget except for that 45,000.
Exactly.
Okay.
Yep.
Which is what I think you may need to say to SAF on the outside.
Yes, we'll do.
Did we give any more money to open up?
No. It's residual 5,000.
That they have left over?
No, for it as a yearly allocation.
They get 5,000 every year?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, okay, that's good. I just want to make sure we resupply on this.
Yes, we have $5,000.
If not, then I'm not saying we lose receipt, but
Of course.
it does help.
I mean, you also kind of have a seat by funding $75,000 the first time.
I thought it was more than that.
No.
It really was. All right, any other questions?
There is one slight issue that I'm trying to solve right now.
What is it?
It was also brought to my attention that if you go back to stipends, that number is not easily divisible by the number of people.
For what?
For Senate, the Senate number should be 6714, not 6716.
Okay.
Because everyone, so 704 times 1.06 is 748.36. 748 times 9, 6732.
So what?
732, yes. And then again, 704 times 1.06, 746.
Okay, but like, does it care that certain legislation is similar and certain legislation is similar? And there's been times that it's similar versus the analysis of it. Okay, that's what I figured, but I didn't know like with money and stuff. Probably are talking about it for weeks. I figured it out. No time like now.
And then 5 is 3732. 3. 2, 3, 3, 8. Okay. 2, 3, 8. Yep.
Alright.
Got you. That just went down $1. Just trying to make sure it was the right number. Great. We're good.
Alright. So.
Actually, whoa.
What's that?
You go back.
Yes.
So. Okay, never mind. My eyes were deceiving me. It's fine.
Good?
Yeah.
Josh, did this number change? I thought it was supposed to be 732 or something like that.
Let me just double check. The new number with the 6% increase, senators make 704 right now.
Yeah.
The new number, 6% increase, is 746. 746 times 9 is 6714. Yeah. Okay.
Good stuff.
Gotcha. It's okay. Thank you for checking.
Oh yeah. Oh, it was this number I think you were saying. I heard 1336. Okay. Any other questions for Brandon? Bless you. I hate about to sneeze. Oh, you're eating. That was bad line, but it's okay.
There were a few concerns brought up on Friday by Dr. Young, mostly. And you run through the proposal by Dr. Young already beforehand?
Yeah, we just ran through the issues that Dr. Young had just now.
Did you do it with her?
I mean, we did it in the meeting.
Like last Friday?
Yeah.
Did you have a meeting after that? Okay, so what I had written down was there were issues with we fixed the overhead fee.
Mm-hmm.
I'm assuming we fixed the stipend support, which was just last 2017.
Yeah.
There were also concerns brought up about the strategic plan and making goals clear on the budget.
This right here.
Yeah. So the issue with that is it wasn't clear. It was not. She was saying it's not clear in the presentation, not the budget.
Okay.
So I'm working with them, and you all have more context because you saw the ideation and all that stuff. They don't have that context. So we're working to draft an email to SAFRB, giving them that context, the same context that you have.
Okay.
What is this stuff? This whole, is that what Brandon's talking about?
No, those are all that's our presentation, which you can find.
Is this mine?
Yes.
Okay, I just didn't know. People use black in front of me.
You're fine. If you go back to the drive.
Okay.
And go to the budget folder. It's in the executive branch. Yeah.
Sure.
Then FY19. If you go to that presentation, they just summed up the presentation in the minutes.
Cool. I didn't even know.
Yep.
I didn't even know this was something. Okay.
Yep.
Okay. Cool.
So you got a shadow on Friday.
Wow. SGA really looking out for me. Wow.
All right. Anything else? Thank you all. This has been great.
Move to approve Journal 17-1760.
Second.
Okay. Anybody abstaining for the budget? Anybody have any issues? All right. Member Centers 4. Are you guys good? There's presentation, right? Great. Okay, hold on. Everybody hands up. All right. Is everybody clear that we're voting on this? Yes. Okay. There was a slow hand, so I wasn't sure. All right. Member Centers 4. Okay. Member Centers opposed. Member abstaining, 0, not present, 2. Okay. Passed. Okay. Yeah. Let's go. Can I take this?
You can if you want.
Thank you. Yes, must.
We moved to the.
I did. Okay. As budget season
losing this.
David's corner.
You should sing. You should record that. make it like a theme song.
I'm gonna put a jingle on.
Yes, exactly.
David's corner. That's it.
So tonight we have a little show and tell. We have here
Yes. I was going to ask about
the book, The Tome of the SGA Generations. The very expensive, Will Never Decay book filled with departing reflections of SGA officers on their graduation. So this year, Josh, Martia, and Alicia are eligible to write. And one day, all of you, read your words here. This goes back to 2003. Pass it around. You can browse if you like. I think we need to find a good way to share some of these reflections with people who are currently in office, because the people who wrote them, they were thinking of you. She might read the words and take some inspiration.
Now you have to call it during David's corner. The audacity.
Does anyone get like a page?
David, write it as a question.
Or multiple pages.
We have a second book. I bought 2 of them years ago.
Of course.
I planned ahead.
This is for every graduating member of SGA.
Oh, yes. Hello.
Is it only officers or is it appointed members?
Anybody who was involved in the organization's work.
Cool.
Just learn here. I'm about to own stuff.
Oh, it's cool.
What's your answer? What's your question?
Yeah, like, other names listed, I didn't hear names, so I was just wondering, is it just like...
I think you just spitballing.
Right, yeah.
And then also, I was talking about people who were in the room and also in the Senate.
Okay.
Yeah, there are many others who are eligible to write. In fact, Megan started written.
Oh, that's that.
And so now that you all have, to my surprise, I didn't know that the SA Department meeting was going to go the way it did, but have now made a formal budgetary connection to the Institute for Democracy and Civic Life. Any questions I can answer? Huh?
And you also need a book? Yeah.
We also need a book, so nobody can ever leave.
Yes.
Just use the one you ordered years ago. It's fine.
It's for SGA.
What student opportunities are you envisioning in New York?
I think at this stage, just about every question you ask, I'm going to answer with, yeah, let's figure that out together. Because the reality is we've been planning for the idea of the Institute for some of its work, but the concrete day-to-day work is going to emerge from conversations with SGA and with stakeholders around the campus. We know that we have a budget that allows us to hire 1 undergraduate intern. And we know that one of the purposes of the Institute is to connect people across lines that aren't usually crossed. So, for example, faculty, students, and staff who care about an issue or want to explore an idea, meeting together and working on it as equals, and not in a structured environment where somebody's responsible for a course or a program and somebody is the recipient or customer.
David, what was your original thought for non-local financial science institute?
I just sort of, are any questions anybody has about where things stand and what's going to happen? You asked earlier about physical location. The current plan is that Romy and I will work out what's now the Student Involvement Center, which will undergo some construction to carve out some offices.
So the other plan is no longer.
Maybe at some point in the future.
But not right now.
What's happening to the third position? Or what's happening to the third position, or is that position just the undergraduate?
It's now the
It's not that, it's not that, but it is the intern might have had the intern position anyway.
Oh, I bet.
I think it's going to take Romy and I some time to establish the initial programming and connection points for the Institute. Like 6 months from now, it should be really clear to any undergraduate on this campus, if I want to get involved, how do I do it? Where do I show up? What can I sign on for? It's going to take us some time to work that out. So the truth of the matter is, even if you had funded that position, it probably would have taken us into the middle of next year to hire it. I think realistically what's going to happen is, for a while, Romy and I are going to be doing a lot of work for 2 people, and that's okay. And that will establish a need, and we'll be talking about funding again maybe in the future. Students will see a value in expanding what the Institute is doing and want to assess themselves an additional fee.
What do you want to see from SGA in contribution? I mean, besides the financial part, but what do you want to see SGA do with the Institute?
So, at the core of the Institute's work is an idea about what democracy is and what it looks like that all of you have been exposed to to one degree or another, whether through SGA or through Strive, or through other programs on the campus. And one of the premises is that just about everybody, including sometimes through their experiences at UMBC, internalizes a sense of powerlessness that can be overcome and needs to be overcome by everybody if we're going to live in a healthier society. I want SGA to think with us about what that means for your work on this campus. I think part of what has been so powerful about the work that has led to the Institute is that students have played unusual roles in shaping UMBC. Even the fact that students, for example, play roles as facilitators at Strive Leadership Retreat is a departure from ordinary practice, where students would be the learners and expert faculty and staff would be the teachers. So I want to think with SGA about how do you expand the space in which people find it normal that students would have something to say about things on this campus. I think there are some ongoing challenges for SGA that your advisors have never had time to solve with you that I think the Institute can be a resource for. For example, the Senate is constantly sending senators who feel overwhelmed and unprepared to go represent you on shared governance committees. I think that's probably a problem with the way that the Senate thinks about preparing you, and also a problem with the way the shared governance committees think about receiving you. Well, let's work on that, right? So that a couple of years from now, when SGA and students are represented on those shared governance committees, everybody is happy with the outcome because students are feeling empowered and making real contributions.
How will the Institute be uniquely different from other places that people just go to get involved with that? Earlier you said that when people feel they want to become involved and become engaged in the community, the Institute is a place for them to do that. But how does that make it different than the Strive Center or the SGA or anything like that?
I think the Striver Center exists to position students to help solve lots of different kinds of problems in Baltimore and in the world. You go to the Striver Center to work on poverty and crime and homelessness and equal access to quality education. The Institute is working on a specific problem, which is powerlessness, and our culture, in some ways at UMBC and certainly beyond UMBC, teaching people how to be powerless and how not to connect with each other. We don't have as easily accessible language for talking about that kind of problem as we do for the problem of homelessness and poverty. We don't have structures yet for how you would get involved in solving that kind of problem. But that's what the Institute is going to build. So if you're a student coming to the Institute, you're coming because either you want help yourself feeling empowered as a contributor to your environment here on campus, or because you want to work with other people on the problem of How do you make spaces where people feel welcome and empowered? How do you think about citizen contributions to problem solving that go beyond occasional voluntary service, right? So you're tackling the problem of democracy itself.
Where does the institute fit in the master plan?
The master plan? Well, the master plan is for space. You're thinking about the strategic plan for...
Yes, that.
As the provost has said, the theme throughout the plan is a desire for UMBC to be more visibly present and impactful in solving problems affecting society, right? And that students get the benefit of learning from the experience of trying to solve those problems. I would say there is no greater problem facing our society than the problem of democracy, the problem of people wanting things to be better, but having no way of making them better because they see themselves as isolated, separated from each other by screens, with all of the real decision-making and action happening somewhere else by the people who got elected and who they see on their screens. That's a problem that can be solved, but it hasn't often been thought of that way. So, and I think, to do that, part of the reason that hope appears in the plan is that over the past few years, through initiatives like Breaking Ground, we've done a lot of work positioning UMBC as a place where really interesting things are happening around those problems, where students are playing some really unusual roles. It's been so powerful that students who have been a part of our delegations to national networks that are concerned about democracy show up expecting to be taken seriously by the faculty and staff members they're talking to. Josh knows the experience of showing up in meetings at national conferences where someone will say, oh, I just think it's so wonderful that a student could be so articulate and so confident as to be willing to speak as if they fully belong in this room. And people like Josh will say, that's nice, stop saying that. Of course I belong here. And I come from an institution where I can walk into just about any space and be taken seriously as a contributor. That's unusual, and we need to make it less unusual. And we need to have more students have that experience while they're here, because Josh has got it. But if you're not in SGA, if you're not working with faculty and staff regularly as collaborative problem solvers, I think there's a really good chance you pass through here and don't feel any more empowered than when you showed up. That has to change.
So, like, how would you say, staff or faculty and staff are being factored into this new talk of democracy? Like, I understand at conferences where people, I guess, aren't familiar with the role of students at UNBC, but I think some faculty and staff members are also just as unfamiliar with So how are they being factored into this?
I think what we're in the process of doing is inventing a new language that makes it possible for people to think about these things in relation to their work. And the way that we do that is by discovering where is it at UNBC that people are already practicing democracy, but they don't know it by that name. So I would say, anytime you go into a class and you have a professor who takes steps to try and share power with you, who makes that space collaborative, is not just shooting information at you, that is a practice of democracy that probably even the professor is not thinking of that way. They're just thinking of being open and friendly and vulnerable and inclusive, which is great, but we need to name that as a practice of democracy that connects with other practices that people on campus are already doing. I think as we shine a light on those practices, we make it possible for people to see themselves doing those things in a way that's a lot more effective than if I show up in their office and say, here's what I think you should be doing, right? You should be practicing democracy.
You get that vision statement done yet?
I'll be consulting with all of you when I start to work on that.
Oh, please no. Does anybody have
this is unrelated, actually pretty related, but I guess you'll have a lot to talk about. How how do you come across like democracy being your like your life's goal? Like, if that makes any sense.
Well, first he was a lawyer, and then he realized he hated being a lawyer, and then
I'd like to share the long story with you.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Also,
Yeah.
David, you should send out your life story series that I read 2 years ago.
Life story series.
I don't really know where it is. I don't remember where I read it.
Might have been the story about quitting my law firm job.
I remember there were like four installments of it. And it was like all about your life.
The presidency?
Huh?
Of the SGA thing?
No, I'm like David, like quit being a lawyer and like moved and he talked
Yeah.
about his feelings. But I don't remember what it was.
writer. Like, I was in my feelings. Sorry.
I would find stuff to share, but the short answer is I was in SGA as a college student. I was the student government president at UCLA. I had great experience, but I learned so much more from it after it was done than while I was in it. And one of the things I did was become a community organizer, going into communities all around the country with the challenge of come up with a solution to problems relating to poverty that is not just some plan that's going to work on paper, but that actually connects all the people in the community who are going to have to work together to make it happen, based on who they are and their history and their identity. And in the process of doing that work, I kept thinking back to my SGA experience. And, if I had only figured this out then, I might have done so much more. And after a few years of that, for the very first time in my life, started to look at scholarly literature, looking for answers to questions about the things I was experiencing as an organizer. Why is it that sometimes people have this burst of energy and power, and at other times they can be working on a project and there's no energy, it's just they're going through the motions? What's the difference? How does it work? Is it something that you can say or do, or a way you show up? So when I came into higher education to work with the student government to keep playing with those ideas, I also started a PhD program and got systematic about my exploration. So, and started to recognize how the questions I was asking were incredibly relevant to the world around us. Like I started to realize, in my first 18 or 20 years of life, I was sure thinking a lot of thoughts that were in effect programmed into me that I hadn't really thought about why they were showing up and why I was assuming the things I was assuming, but I was becoming clearer as an adult about how that happened.
I feel like when we're speaking about like democracy or just like everything in general, like there are a lot of details to keep track of, and like I guess how you extrapolate them is very like I don't know, confusing. Like you're talking about ideals that you founded or like were ingrained in you like in grad school, but you're hoping to like affect change like on a broader scale, but like starting with the institute and then like hopefully like I guess like inspiring us to like then make change like on the more like federal, I don't even know if that level.
Any environment. There are, every day I'll bet you're in a whole bunch of environments where you feel powerless, but you don't really think about the fact that you feel powerless because that's taken for granted. And some of those you probably don't need to change. Like you probably feel pretty powerless if you're in line in a food court. Like there are things you know that you can't do, and there's like you can't say, I think you should change the menu on a restaurant. You just get to choose which thing you're ordering, right? But even being aware of the fact that you take for granted your powerlessness in that situation is helpful, because then you can start to notice, when do I feel power and when do I not, and how did it get that way? And is that okay? Because while it might be okay on the fast food line, it might not be okay in a classroom, or when you're walking around campus and see things and think, well, that's just how UMBC is.
I actually never even thought about like the fast food line, like who cares about, like who would think about like power dynamics in the fast food line.
It's not even just with the people at the cashier, you know, there's power dynamics within the line. Like you've probably internalized that you can't stare at the people in front of you and behind you. You may not be able to just strike up conversations with strangers or start singing, right? There's protocols that have been ingrained in you from experiences of waiting in line throughout your whole life. And those protocols might be okay, but they might not. They might contain systemic oppression that you want to be conscious of and then work against.
What? This is another intricate. Okay.
Just wait till you meet with him one-on-one.
Yeah.
It gets better.
Talking about the power dynamics in terms of like friendships too, and like just relationships that you like build or form is interesting too.
Or my deep fundamental experience was when I was in college, I knew that I could major in anything I wanted to, as long as it was pre-law or pre-med. Right? I really experienced that as I can major in astronomy, except I can't really because it's not pre-law or pre-med. And it was only afterward looking back that I thought, wait a minute, I didn't really have much of a choice. And not only that, it wasn't anything that could lead law school or med school. It was the specific majors that my parents thought were likely to be good credentials for those things that were acceptable. But I didn't, I had so internalized the programming, I didn't think, well, this is really their choice that they made. I thought, these are my options. It's a menu with most of it very blurry, and then a couple of clear things, political science, or biochemistry. But how much of our lives does that same dynamic apply?
I can count like on my hands and feet.
And I think it's a version of that same thing that explains why our national public life is so broken, and why there are problems like climate change that threaten everyone, and yet we can't get our act together to do against it. There we go.
Oh, David, I've been stalking Procreate breaking ground for the past 20 minutes. You're just in conversation. David, I don't know where it was. And now I'm determined to find it. I will not sleep until I find it. I think it was on Twitter. I think there was a link. Okay, so before I knew you, right? Funny story, guys. Before I knew David, I think somehow Craig and Roy came across a blog series of things that you had written about your life and how you got here and stuff like that. And I don't remember where they were, but I didn't know you at the time, which is kind of creepy because I read your entire life story and was just like, wow, this person is so interesting. And like, I relate to so much of what they said, but then I never talked to you about it, so we'll talk about it eventually. But I don't remember where you put it.
So co-creating RPC is the blog that I started, and then Craig joined, and it's been a while since I've made a co-create post, and it lives on my UNBC now, but this is the old.
There's also a WordPress one, right?
But there were two multi-part series that I wrote. One was about quitting my job as a lawyer, and the other one was about my last couple of months in college SGA, where an election meant a lot. But other than that, they were all single posts.
Where are they?
They're on that blog.
They're on the website. For the if you search.
What's so happy? If I
Search for the phrase "the good fight." Put it in quotes.
Put it in quotes? Dude, what kind of search engine is this?
You put something in quotes to find the exact phrase.
Really?
Yeah.
Really, I don't Google many things.
Google hack.
I have a
The Good Fight series is about the as part of my SGA experience.
It's chapters.
Anyway, I took 2 hours to read all of this in one day, and if you haven't, you should. It made me feel closer to David without speaking to him. I need to go back and read these. Let me email this. Anybody have other questions for David? He's a fascinating person. I'm enjoying this conversation that we're all having.
If you have like two different groups who want to use your, I guess, services to get connected and like whatever you offer to them, I guess you said like you're gonna help like connect groups of people and like kind of assist them with becoming powerful. If you had two who wanted to like that service, which like what would what like I guess guide sets would you use to like decide which group to pick?
I think it's going to be a while before we have to turn down opportunities to help people in that way. So I'm not envisioning this as having to resolve that conflict. I think ultimately what will happen is we're going to build some either programs or traditional meetings where people can come in and get a taste of things and then take it back to wherever they are. I envision doing that with students and faculty and staff. So I think we need to talk about what those groups are, what would pull you into them, what would pull anybody into them. But the way that Romy and I are going to start is by going around and meeting with lots of different people and getting an understanding of, so first of all, let's hear their stories and understand that they might be practicing democracy but not calling it that. Let's hear about the challenges and problems they have, like in a conversation that might have come out that people, when they go serve from the Senate on shared governance committees, are frustrated because they're not sure what role to play, and everybody seems to have served longer, and how do you get past that? So in our conversations, that kind of problem will come out. We're going to be thinking about how can we help people pull together and address that kind of challenge. So it might be that ultimately we develop a training, maybe it's a training for everyone who serves on shared governance committees, and it's students, faculty, and staff together, because it might turn out that new members of committees coming from faculty and staff feel the same way. And if you got training and implementation together, that would help you build relationships and feel empowered. And so maybe we'll provide that training. But I don't know, like, I can't prejudge what it is we're going to find when we talk to people. So I think the first thing we're going to do is take the most salient, relevant, useful things that we can do to pull people together and help them do those things. And we're going to tell the stories that come out of that to help people see that democracy is something that can practice as well.
All right. Good. You guys don't have meetings with David. You should. Seriously. David has talked about everything, and he's good. And not even SGA stuff, like life stuff, you know. Talk to David about life stuff. He knows what's up. He likes what his children. I assume.
I don't know about that last.
David loves me like I am his child. I'm kidding. Anyway, David.
We're friends. I'm colleagues.
We are your friends, yes. David, is that all you have to update us with? SGA elections are happening.
SGA elections are happening, yes. I'm sure I don't have to encourage you all to vote. I'm all about to send an email to the whole student body.
Remember, don't use listservs. So much information. Remember, tonight's the first night of voting. Please go back through your rules so that you do not get in trouble. That'd be very bad. All right, David, do you want to move on? Okay, cool. Initiatives. Who has initiative updates? I think I'm meeting with Jen tomorrow for State Level Code. Yeah, so that's where I'm kind of rolling. FRC reports are due too. Jordan?
Last week, there was a focus group for campus vibrancy. And the group initially was supposed to target unengaged students to figure out why they're not engaged. I don't know how much of the engagement students were that actually came. Yeah, because we just like talked to some students like ourselves and see what they had to say. They had a lot of interesting things to say. I don't have the notes. Well, actually, I wrote something, but I wasn't recording anything. But basically, someone said something about like just the way that communication like is here is definitely different from other schools. Like just talking about like events that are going on and stuff like that isn't, I guess, as popular here. It was kind of same sentiment. Yeah, I have a lot. There's like notes. Hopefully, I can talk to Dan, our director. Yeah, to see what they're gonna do with that information. Yeah. I would like to see what it is, kind of go back and see that. The food was really good last time, but it was pretty good. You guys are trying to each, so.
Clearly.
Yeah.
All right, other mission updates? No?
Yes. I actually am meeting with Collier Wednesday or tomorrow. So does anyone have any questions about my UMBC?
I guess just like what's the launch looking like? What's the date? And if he wants to come in and send it to present, that he should. Justin.
I don't know if this is the time for this, but with my UMBC, just like some suggestion I would give, like it can be distracting to log into it and like see all the events and everything. Like if I'm trying to get somewhere, like I'm just someone who's like easily distracted, and I'm sure there's other people like that.
So it can be distracting, like the events that pop up kind of distract you from like other things that you have to do.
Yeah, it's like maybe like I guess I don't know, like I turn off like the straight like feed mode maybe. I don't know.
Jordan, how do you feel about not Jordan, Justin, how do you feel about this look? Is this distracting for you? Because this is an element of the My UBC, the new one that will be launched. You see over here where it says events.
Mm-hmm.
We can't click on it because we don't have access to see and read the process, but like this is how the similar platform will look eventually with My UBC is launched.
Oh, and that's like the first thing that pops up.
No, so whenever you go to you click your name, and so like this is already an element that they've launched, which is why it's like the beta, but this is what it'll start to look like.
Oh, okay.
So, Markia.
Could you possibly ask what specifically he would like from SGA in order to help
I already have an email to them.
with the process? I mean, outside, I know that you,
I already sent an email to Kenneth Collier.
about, but isn't that like chatting?
Well, specific feedback, yeah.
Anything else? Sorry, Jordan. Okay. Anybody else has that out, please? No? Okay, sure, the rest of the year, please. Justin?
I don't think I can really go into details, but the Academic Honesty Committee will convene. I mean, I might, I
No, we're good. We're good.
Thank you for attending our
I just want to play it.
We appreciate it.
Well.
All right, anybody else? No? Oh, maybe. I hope you want to do the thing. Jordan?
I think proven applications are done.
Yes.
With me and Josh and Aline are working on finishing it up.
Yep.
Okay. Anybody else? All right. Brandon, what's up?
Never mind. I'll say yes.
Okay. Announcements. There's two things I want to talk about, I guess. One, as far as attendance goes, I want to remind everybody that gavel-in is at 5:30, and as soon as gavel-in happens, you are then considered unexcused. 2 unexcused absences, so you get 1, and then your second unexcused absence states that you are removed from your position immediately due to 2 unexcused absences. We're at the point in the semester where I don't want to lose senators, so therefore I'm going to say this now, just everybody be aware of what time you're coming in, because this week and last week we had a few late entrances, and technically that goes against what our guiding docs say. So, yeah. And then what else? I forgot. Other announcements, Markia.
So, on May 3rd, May 7th, and May 8th, they're going to bring candidates to campus for the assistant director position. So the person who will be in David's position after David goes to the institute. It would be really nice to have students available for the SGA student interview. I'm pretty sure Josh has put that on everyone's calendars. So if you could respond to it, even if it's a no, that would be good, so we know who is available, who's not, and we know what to expect. So yeah, check your calendars. It should be fun. Only 3 days.
Please. And the difference between the ones that these and the ones that we did before is last time we did a joint interview between the campus life staff and students. This is just a student interview. All these are student exclusive interviews. So it would be sad and unfortunate if the students that are there are meeting Marquita. So can you please, everyone, can we take make some tough decisions? And if we want to move it to later today, and I know at this late stage, it's probably be a little difficult, but we can have that conversation. If 1 p.m. works better, or free hour, even though there's only one during a Monday, you can make something work. But yeah, it's that day.
Sorry. You see,
And then you go next week, and then there's that one, and then there's that one. Yep, Monday and Tuesday. Yep. So, please. Yeah.
Okay, cool. Any other announcements other than this is your SIC report? Yeah, report. Okomoka meeting is tomorrow. I think those of us are going to go. And then I'll figure out a time for all of us to be meeting up to be talking about stuff. And we'll talk about it in the study meeting also.
If anyone wants to come to finance board tomorrow, talking about budget.
Please go to finance board. Carly and I make efforts to go to each other's, and we should all be doing the same.
And then Friday is voting, barring any issue, like assuming that there will be no issues with the finance board tomorrow. And then, as you all have seen, I'm sure, May 2nd is a very important date. I hope everyone is free during free hour, because I'd like to see everybody at the open forum construction.
I'm not.
Okay. This is an update on the facilities master plan, and they're going to present their final master plan for the next 10 years. And I would like everyone to attend if possible. No, we'll put it on everyone's calendar.
Thanks, Josh.
Brandon? So for their open forum on the master plan at 3 hour, what are they expecting from students?
I mean, it's the standard.
Right, so I'm thinking of, for example, when that person talked, there was an open forum earlier this semester about changing fees or something like that.
The fee form.
Yes, that. And so during the meeting, there wasn't much opportunity for input to be given, but my understanding was that there was a survey afterwards was put on purpose. I'm wondering if there was a similar situation for this.
No, not for this one. So what they've done over the past, what the campus has done over the past year and a half, particularly with facilities management, every 10 years we're supposed to revise our facilities master plan. So they started it a year and a half ago, at the beginning of fall 2016. Yeah, and then they started doing focus groups and all the different stuff where they incorporated all that feedback, and now they proposed their initial master plan in the fall, and this is the campus presentation for their final master plan. So they've incorporated all the feedback already. It's just, hey, this is what is being presented to the Board of Regents.
So it's essentially a second info session.
Yes.
Okay. Any more questions or updates? Announcements? No? Alrighty. Well, I adjourn this meeting at 8:38 p.m. I need to gavel, but somebody turn off the election, please. I guess I'll say this now before we start passing gavel, that way